from one star to another. Yes, Starship to...
Star is born.
Yeah. Big day, the budgie. Sure, everything's out now. You were just saying to Dermot and stuff.
Yeah, but there's no mystique to it anymore now. It's all revealed. It's all there, isn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of it's thrashed out in the public. But how much will we be better off, Lee? That's the question.
What do you think?
I haven't a clue. We'll know tomorrow. We'll do something on the show tomorrow about how it might impact people in different ways.
Yeah, but it takes it... Really, it's by the evening time when everything's out. Do you know? Well, but I suppose it's all.
It's all out. It's all out. But it's how everyone's in different situations. Some people have more tax credits and less tax credits, and all that kind of.
Would there be any
jargon.
surprises? Anything?
No, I don't think
anything
there's any
else?
surprise.
No. The more you get, the more you want.
Aye.
Do you know? What about the Apple tax? What are they going to do with that money?
Well, that's just resting in an account somewhere.
Getting into
28 billion euro surplus this year. It's not bad, is it?
I thought it was 25, but it's up to 28 now.
Well, it could be 25, could be 28.
Right, it's a little right, Albert, isn't it?
Yep.
That's including the Apple tax money, 14.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yeah. What are you doing for the rest of the week?
Looking at the budget.
On Friday. Oh, well, on Friday we're going down to Kilkenny. Did you not ask me what we're doing on Friday?
I'm going down there too.
No, you can't go down because we're going down to the IMRO Awards.
You're joking.
Yeah.
How come that's all pretty hushy-pushy?
It's not hushy-pushy.
I didn't hear about it.
Yeah.
On Friday?
Yeah,
Is this Friday?
Well, the shows, the 9 till noon
I know
shows
you're nominated.
nominated for second year.
Well, I'm kind of part of that, aren't I?
Kind of.
I'm the warm-up guy.
Now that we started doing it chatting before 9, you can't take any credit.
No, but that's good. No, tell us on a serious note. So it's this Friday night.
So we were joking about the budget. We were joking about everything
Oh,
else.
but
and
then
now we're
you
being
dropped that
serious
in like a
about
big bomb to me.
Yeah.
Go on ahead then. So it's this Friday night. Emerald. Where in Kilkenny? Where?
Kilkenny. Lyra Hotel. Is it Lyra?
Oh, look at this now. Throwing it out there. 5-star Lyra Hotel.
Well, I'm not staying in it.
Full board
No,
for
I'm
a
not.
week.
I'm not staying in it. Caroline, are you staying in the Lyra Hotel? You are, yeah.
All right. Who else is going?
Fanula's staying in the Lyra Hotel.
All right.
Is Fanula staying
Is
in the Lyra
Oisin
Hotel?
staying in there?
Is
Shannon?
Shannon? Is Shannon in the Lyra
You're
Hotel?
dropping names now.
So Caroline and Fanula are staying in the Lyra Hotel, 5-star Splendor, and I'm staying in I think
Airbnb, is it?
bed and breakfast.
You'd be
somewhere
happier.
else.
You could be happier.
Really?
Do you know?
Does there something about that not seem 100% right?
You're the star.
I know, I'm not saying that.
You're the star. Do you know?
Anyway, it could be grand.
I should become your manager. Do you know?
If you're on a cut, you would literally be unemployed.
That's all right.
All right, thanks,
That's
Leo.
good then. I look forward to that
Yes, exciting.
Yeah,
2 in a row could be.
then. You never know.
All right, if you imagine it, maybe it can happen. Who knows? Who cares? Okay, it is the 9 till noon show. It's 9 o'clock. Let's get a news update. It's over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The Taoiseach is rejecting suggestions. The government is announcing a giveaway budget. Cabinet is meeting this morning to approve the measures that will be announced in the Dáil this afternoon. A social welfare package of €2.7 billion will be revealed. That includes €1.5 billion in one-off payments. In a message this morning, Taoiseach Simon Harris says he believes the budget will deliver to people in Donegal.
I know that families across County Donegal need more help in today's budget. That's why we're going to make sure we deliver a really substantial cost of living package. We're going to put about €2 billion back into people's pockets between now and Christmas. We're also looking at targeted measures to help the most vulnerable in our society, as well as our pensioners and our carers. In addition to being able to do these things, though, we're also putting money away for our kids' futures. But I am determined that this budget helps people in the here and now. Very confident the budget today is going to make a real difference to people.
A protest is taking place this afternoon at the site of the redevelopment of Ard Scolwilla in Gweedore. It had been indicated the development would include a 5-bedroom assisted living facility for adults with intellectual disabilities. But local councillor Micheál Cullum-Gillespie says his understanding is that element of the plan is not now progressing. He says today's protest will be focused on urging the developer and the council to reinstate the assisted living project.
I've been a part of the housing SPC for a long, long time, and this has been something that we've discussed right through the number of years, and only by pure chance to find out that there's a move to remove it and not to build it only came to my attention by pure chance, and that's why we're organising and trying to put pressure on the council and the developer to build what is needed in our community.
Revised opening hours have been announced for the Garda station in Ballybofey following queries from Councillor Patrick McGowan at a recent JPC meeting. It's been confirmed the Garda station will open Monday to Friday from 10 to 1 and 2 to 4. It'll open on Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 1 if a Garda is available, but the station will have to close if Gardaí are responding to a call at that time. Councillor McGowan has given the confirmation a cautious welcome. He says it's a very busy station which covers a long land border with Northern Ireland. And Gardaí are appealing to witnesses to a serious crash in County Roscommon yesterday to come forward. Emergency services attended the scene of a collision between a car and a jeep on the N4 at Ardcarn, close to Boyle. A man in his 70s was taken to hospital with serious injuries. A woman in her 40s was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Any road users or pedestrians who were in the Ardcarn area between 1 and 1:30 yesterday are asked to come forward. And we're getting word of a major water outage in the Glashue area of Cloughaneely. Councillor Michael McClafferty in the area tells us that the local water team are doing their best in difficult conditions, but it seems it'll be several hours before that water issue is resolved there. The latest in a series of incidents in that particular area. And the weather forecast, a mostly dry day with long sunny spells, top temperatures hitting 13 to 15 degrees Celsius, moderate to fresh northerly winds. Tonight mainly dry with long clear spells and high lows of 3 to 7. That's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, good morning.
A fully grown elephant weighs as much as your...
Mum, you promised I could watch my show.
But you've got terrible taste.
Buy a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 6, Z Fold 6 or S24 series from a participating retailer and you can claim a Chromebook Go worth €329. Keep the content rolling with more screens for everyone. Purchase by the 3rd of October. Claim from Samsung within 30 days of purchase. T's and C's apply.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning, and you're very welcome along to Tuesday's 9 till noon show. It's the 1st of October, and it's just turning 4 minutes past 9, and we're here for the next 3 hours. As you would know at this stage, loads coming up on the programme, including Community Garda information. That's coming up for you just after 10 o'clock, but there's that and so much more besides. We want you to have your views, raise issues if you so wish. 086 60 25,000, that's the WhatsApp and text number. 086 60 25,000. If you want to give us a call, it's 07491 25,000, and fire over your comments via email if that's your thing, comments@highlandradio.com. And you can also watch us on our YouTube channel on your Fire Stick, your smart TV or your mobile devices. Just go to Highland Radio Ireland. You'll see we're streaming live. We're on the X platform too, and also right across Facebook. So you can engage and contact us and watch and listen no end of ways. Okay, let's have a look at what's making the papers today. The big news, of course, is the budget. As we were chatting to Lee there, there's no secrets really at this stage. It's all out there. And the Irish Times will go with it. Pre-election budget giveaway. A series of giveaways will see many families gain by thousands of euros over the next 12 months as the coalition seeks an electoral launchpad from today's budget. Tax changes expected to make workers on average wages about €1,000 better off, and a series of one-off payments in the coming months, including €250 in energy credits and 2 double payments of child benefit. An extra €840 for families with 3 children will be among the measures announced today. Now, for many, that will be very, very good news. Anytime, especially at this time of year, that there's more money available to families which may well be struggling, it has to be welcomed, doesn't it? I mean, people can question the motivation behind it, if it's an election budget or not, but you know what? As long as people that need support get it, it doesn't really matter much to me when it is. I don't know what you guys think. What do you think? Let us know. 086 60 25,000. Are you more inclined to maybe vote for this government because of this budget too? Be very interested if you are one of those voters maybe that's undecided. So what do we know so far? 2 double child benefit payments before Christmas, €280 per child. Universal electricity credits, €250. I believe they're going to be paid in 2 €125 payments. Extra tax credits for renters. Students' fees are to be reduced by €1,000 to €1,500 in this academic year. Again, that will be welcome news to some of you out there. Wider eligibility for student grants, which has been a bugbear for quite some time. People missing out on student grants because of very narrow margins. Reduced VAT on electricity and gas extended until April, so that's nothing new. Extra living alone allowance, which will be good news to some. Lump sums for long-term disabilities as well. And then that's for this year. It is Budget 25. Universal Social Charge cut, the USC, controversial, was introduced as a temporary measure. It's not going to be removed, but it's going to be cut somewhat. Higher income tax threshold to rise by €2,000 and tax credits to increase. Free public transport for children under 9 from summer 25. Payments of newborn children. Parents of newborn children to receive a once-off triple child benefit payment. So if you're due in December, I'm not sure if you'll get it, but certainly if you have the baby in January, I believe you will. Mortgage interest relief to be extended. 80-cent minimum wage rise. Free school books up to Leaving Cert. 1,500 additional special needs assistance. 350 additional special classes. Junior Cert, Leaving Cert fees waived. All welfare payments, including pensions, to increase by €12 a week from next year. Inheritance threshold to rise. Free hormone replacement therapy as well there. Long-term changes, extension of Help to Buy to 2029. 1,000 extra prison spaces over 5 years, which is great. If you've just committed a crime, you'll have somewhere to go. Land Development Agency, Irish Water and Airgrid in line to benefit from 17 billion Apple Tax and IAB share proceeds, or is that 1.7? Probably 1.7, I don't know. 17 billion seems a lot. 1.7 billion, I believe it is. Okay, so that's what the budget will have in store for you. We'll keep you updated, of course, with our news bulletins on the hour throughout the afternoon, and you'll be able to keep up to date with it as well on our website, highlandradio.com. So that's all coming up a little later. As I say, nowadays, there's very few surprises. It was sort of when negotiations went to the 12th hour as it relates to reducing VAT in hospitality to 9%. They didn't get that over the line, apparently, so that's not going to happen. It's going to remain at 13.5. But I thought it was an opportunity, really, to target that so as not to reward those that exploit the public, that gouge hotels, etc. Not hotels up here, but particularly down in Dublin. But that's a missed opportunity, so nothing's going to happen in that regard. But there are going to be other breaks, they will argue, I am sure. All right. In the Irish Independent today, and it's carried in many of the papers as well, modular homes paid for by the state to house Ukrainian refugees are now expected to cost, and wait for this is a modular home, €442,000 each. That's more than double the original slated cost of €200,000, and the Controller and Auditor General report found this. Now, the OPW are up to the neck in this as well. Costs have risen sharply for the housing programme that was supposed to save the state money instead of paying for hotel rooms to house refugees fleeing Russia's invasion of Ukraine. As part of the OPW-led project, 500 modular homes were to be rapidly built to house 2,000 beneficiaries temporarily protected. Because of the urgency of the situation, a proper value for money investigation or cost-benefit analysis was not carried out. The original projected cost was $100 million, but it's now expected to cost $289.3 million, according to the report published yesterday. It sets out a catalogue of changes, including an increase in the targeted homes to 700 before it fell back to a lower revised figure. But be that as it may, each of these units coming in at €442,000. Now, groundworks, site acquisition, services presumably adding to this. But still, 442 for a put-it-together house, €442,000. And obviously, look, this was a plan put in place to house Ukrainians fleeing Russia. It's not about them. They're looking for accommodation. But obviously, this has caused a great deal of upset amongst people who are struggling to find their own accommodation and can't get any support at all, let alone a €442,000 put-it-together house, modular home. And of course, too, up here, people are going to read that a little bit differently, because you will have people that are trying to access the defective concrete block scheme. The maximum grant, which is not achievable by many, is in and around the same that's being spent on modular homes. People are expected to build, full concrete houses for that. And as I say, not everyone gets the maximum grant that is available. And it irks people, because people aren't against helping others, but when the playing field doesn't feel level, that is when people get very frustrated and angry. The Irish Daily Mail: Israel last night prepared, and indeed did, invade Lebanon armoured vehicles were massing on the border as Israeli rockets hit the south of the country. Lebanese troops were last night said to have pulled back 5 kilometres from their positions along the southern border with Israel ahead of the assault. Israeli Special Forces troops have already crossed the frontier to lay the groundwork. US officials were last night locked in discussions with Israel about the best way forward as President Joe Biden desperately tried to salvage his ceasefire proposals, which has failed miserably. It's being called a targeted invasion, or whatever the phraseology is because then that means it's one step back from full-out war. Just note, listening this morning to some radio, a UNICEF advert begging people for money, for food, for water, for blankets for children in Lebanon. This is not me taking a side, so to speak. This is a UNICEF advert talking of children sleeping out in the rain, not having any food, not having any water. 1 million displaced in Lebanon, 1 million displaced in Gaza as well. Many dead, many children dead, many young people dead. And obviously Iran has an interest in what's going on over there. And America is providing the weapons to Israel to a great extent, and probably intelligence support as well, is standing back as Israel. Obviously, they will argue it's a reactionary move, but as they go in and bomb the living daylights out of these two other countries, displacing many and killing others, and then America sends more troops to the Middle East to tell Iran to back off. So Iran, who has an interest in this area, of course, America's saying to Iran, you stand back and let them do what they're doing, or else, you'll have us to contend with. And that's the way the world is at the moment. It's a scary old setup. The Irish Star this morning, the sister of Nicole Morey, who was killed by her own dog, including her own dogs, including an XL bully, believes new laws banning them that came into force today do not go far enough. Jolene Murray is calling for stricter measures on dangerous animals to be put in place following her sister's tragic death. Nicole, 23, was fatally mauled by her 4 dogs at her home in Fedamore, Limerick on June 3rd. From today, it's illegal to import, breed or sell an XL bully dog. However, existing owners will be allowed to keep their pets if the dog is neutered, microchipped and they own a dog licence by February 1st, 2025. The new legislation brought in by Minister Heather Humphreys was prompted by Nicole's death. But speaking yesterday, Jolene said the law they're bringing out, you have to have a licence, you have to have papers, but my sister had all of them and it still had to take a death to bring in the law. I don't think there's going to be a big enough change in it. I think people are going to keep the dogs, and then there's going to be more accidents and more attacks, but people don't feel the pain until it's at their front doors. So what do you think? So at the moment, really, you can keep your dog if you have it at the moment. You can't rehome them, you can't sell them, you can't breed them. They have to be neutered, chipped. Effectively, what this means is if you have one at the moment, you're allowed to keep it. If you get a license for it, you're allowed to keep it for the rest of its natural life. I'm not quite sure what Nicole's sister is calling for. Is she calling for them to be put down, to be taken from owners, and to be eliminated at this point? She goes on to say, I think there should be stricter laws. They're not small little puppies. They're not dogs that you could just mess around with. They can just switch in 2 seconds. And Nicole had been out celebrating her 23rd birthday before she returned to her home and was attacked by the dog. So I'm not sure. I didn't hear the interview, but I'm not sure if the interviewer actually asked, well, what do you want? But the only step really beyond this would to have the dogs presumably taken from their owners and destroyed. Do you believe the new laws go far enough? And as the lady said there, maybe you only really feel passionate about this when the tragedy is visited on your own door. A bizarre story, and a bizarre in all the wrong ways, a horrific story really, and you wonder what's going on. It's in the Sun and covered in a lot of papers today. It's about a man who became the 8th person accused of attacking a woman found in a bloody, tortured and beaten state in a flat in Dublin. He's remanded in custody. Dublin District Court heard yesterday that a makeshift blowtorch, heated hammerheads, iron bars and a stick were used to injure and beat the victim around her head and body. The attack came after she was brought to a North Inner City flat last Thursday, it was alleged. Emmett Black, 48, of the Mullins Dublin 8, was charged with false imprisonment and assault causing harm to the woman, 37, at Henrietta House, Dublin 7, and was denied bail. Garda Kieran Rogers told Judge Alan Mitchell the violence only stopped when Gardaí entered the flat to find the woman in a bloodied, tortured and beaten state. She told Gardaí she was brought to the flat in a car with a group of men, including Mr Black, who allegedly escorted her to the scene. Judge Mitchell heard the following assault lasted more than 1.5 hours, during which the woman said she was beaten around the head and body with a hatchet, iron bars. She was violently attacked with a blade. It's very bizarre. Don't know what's going on there at all. And lastly, a study from another country. It's reported in the Irish Daily Mail and elsewhere. Drivers of electric vehicles are more likely to cause collisions than those who use petrol or diesel cars, a study revealed yesterday. Experts at LIRO, the Research Ireland Centre for Software and University of Limerick, found EVs have recorded more at-fault insurance claims than fossil-fuelled models. Sorry, there was another report from further afield. I thought that's what this was referencing. The study, which analysed claims and data from onboard sensors on EVs, also shows they are 6.7% more expensive to repair. It also found drivers of EVs and hybrid vehicles exhibit different behaviours, driving slower to preserve battery charge and braking less harshly. But despite their lower average mileage than traditional vehicles, this does not reduce driver risk of experiencing an at-fault insurance claim, the study found. Researchers said there is a 4% jump in crashes from electric vehicles and a 6% increase for hybrids compared to petrol and diesel cars. Why would that be? It's got nothing to do with the actual vehicles themselves. This is about driver behaviour. And I wonder, is it distraction? I wonder, is it people perhaps looking at the multitude of screens, which are present, I suppose, also on petrol and diesel cars. That being said, it's very hard to get a straight petrol, straight diesel now sometimes. Certainly it's very hard to get a straight diesel car. Is it distraction? Is it all the screens? Is it people sort of focusing on the economy? I don't know. But if you drive an EV car, you are 6.7 times more likely to be involved in a collision that is your fault, which I think is kind of interesting. Any views on that or anything we talked about there, let us know. 086 60 25,000.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
I came to Donegal in 1994. I had a bird book then, a Collins Guide to Irish Birds. It says that there's 16,000 pairs of lapwing. Well, you could divide that by 1,000 now. Their numbers have declined by 95% since the 1980s.
That's Nature Farmers, a new series Wednesday nights on Highland Radio, after the news at 8 p.m.
Your friends said you were mad. Your family said it was risky. Your heart said, I can do this. But now a little voice inside is saying, what's next? Visa's She's Next grant programme is empowering women to take the next step with their small business, with a chance to win one of 5 grants worth up to €50,000 and professional coaching. You say, I'm ready. We say, you've got this. Apply now at visa.ie/she's next. Open to women-owned businesses operating in the Republic of Ireland. T's and C's apply.
You're listening to Highland Radio, broadcasting to some of the 1,000 millionaires made by the National Lottery so far. Next time you play a National Lottery game, it really could be you. Play responsibly, play for fun. See lottery.ie for more details.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
It's 21 minutes past 9 and Yvonne is with me on the programme now. Good morning, Yvonne. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm okay. I've had this experience before and it's really unpleasant. You were travelling between Ballybofey and Donegal Town. What did you observe there at the roadworks at McGrory's Bray?
Yeah, this was last night. Pretty bad night. Rain coming down. And as we were coming up McGrory's Bray, heading towards Donegal Town, the line of traffic met an ambulance with blue lights. And for anybody that doesn't understand, when there's blue lights flashing on an ambulance, it is an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
And the ambulance had no room to get through. So everybody that was in that line of traffic had to go behind the cones where the roadworks are actually happening at the moment. Unfortunately for me, my car got stuck because it dropped down on a ledge between tar and rubble.
Uh-huh.
And only two gentlemen, two healthcare professionals, arrived on the road. They actually took the car out for me. It was pitch black. There's no lights at the top of McGorry's Brae. And I just couldn't understand why there's no emergency lane for vehicles to get through. But apparently this is happening on a daily basis for our emergency services.
Yeah, so theoretically, I mean, was the ambulance coming from the Donegal town direction?
The ambulance was coming from the Donegal town direction,
so obviously traffic travelling, it's one lane at the moment, traffic travelling towards Donegal town, headed up there on a green light. Obviously then the ambulance passed the traffic stopped at a red light because it's an emergency and met the oncoming traffic midway up the Brae, and there's no escape route really there at all.
No, there's not. Absolutely none. You either go behind the cones at a point when you get entry to let the ambulance past, or else you're sitting there facing the ambulance.
Yeah, and there's no the other side which is closed. There's nothing. There's no lights there, so you know what you can and can not pull into. Really.
Yeah, no, there's not. It actually was extremely dark up there.
How long
and you don't really notice this until you're in the middle of it.
How long did it all take?
Oh, probably in about 20 minutes.
What? Not for you to get
about
your car
20
out,
minutes.
for the ambulance to get through?
Well, no, the ambulance probably got through fairly quickly.
Right.
But yeah, it probably took me 10 to 15, 20 minutes to get the car out.
Any
Because
damage?
it literally was. Don't know. The very kind gentleman that took it out for me has advised me this morning to go and get the two tyres checked because she was sort of dragging on the edging.
Yeah, you have to check the inside wall of the tyres there.
Yeah,
because there could be damage that you couldn't see. So other than you guys pulling in as best as you can, there's no provision there for emergency vehicles. There's not enough width. There's not enough.
No,
width
there's not.
there.
No, and there's actually not enough width even when you pull in behind the cones to actually drive on, to be honest, especially when it's dark. And like, I didn't see that drop on the road because I was probably watching, what I was doing in relation to the cones at the side and looking for an entry point to get back out onto the main road.
And if the truth be told too, Yvonne, when we see the blue lights, we kind of be up to high dough. You want to get out of their way as soon as is possible.
Well,
that's me anyway.
I suppose I work in healthcare, so I mean, it's automatic for us to pull in because time is critical for the person in the back of that ambulance. Seconds count.
Yeah. And it's different during the day, of course, Yvonne, because presumably, I don't know if the ambulance dispatch can contact the contractor on the ground to stop traffic and let them through. I don't know. You think in 24 we'd have some sort of a system, but at night time there's no system there. It's down to the ambulance drivers and the ability of the car drivers to get out of their way. I mean, I wonder what would happen, and I suppose this is a bit of whataboutery, but if an articulated lorry was in amongst all of those cars, presumably that might further complicate the situation.
I don't think there would be anywhere for the lorry to go.
Yeah.
Like it is very narrow, and I appreciate works have to be done, but there also needs to be provisions put in place for emergency vehicles.
Mm-hmm. There has to be a technical solution where, as well, either to stop the lights. I don't know how all that might work, Yvonne, but you would imagine just in this day and age with what we can achieve. But you're of the view something needs to be sorted quickly because...
Yeah.
I mean, there's two things. Obviously, the first thing, the more serious thing, as you know, working in healthcare, Yvonne, every second counts. But also, if you tipped over and went in there into the ditch, or not the ditch as such, but the other side of the road, that obviously is a big problem as well. And we don't know yet what damage has been caused to your car.
No, I know that this morning.
Yeah. All right. Okay. And
hopefully none.
And in fairness, you did get assistance, which is a good thing out of this story. A couple of people did help.
Yeah,
you.
very grateful. And if the two guys are listening, thanks a million for helping me out last night, because I suppose at one point I was like, I'm just stuck. I'm not getting out of here. But anyway,
okay, listen,
I made it home.
You did. Thank God for that. Listen, thanks very much for helping us highlight it, Yvonne. We'll find out a bit more information, see what the plan is, if there is a plan, and maybe someone who drives with the ambulance service, I know they can't speak publicly, could contact us and let us know if they have any concerns as well. But for now, Yvonne, I'm glad you got home okay, and hopefully there's no lasting damage to the car.
Perfect, Greg.
Right,
listen, thanks a million for having me. Take care.
Pleasure. Take care, Yvonne. Thanks very much. Has that been your experience? Let us know. 086 60 25,000. Now, before we move on, I want to mention our competition today. We had a superb response to it yesterday, so I want to give it a nice early mention so that as many of you as possible can be involved. And it's thanks to our friends at the Green Shoes. They've stores, of course, in Letterkenny, Falcarra, Limerick, and down in Galway as well. And you can also shop online, greenshoes.com. It is Greens, Greenes. And today we have a pair of Rikers to give away. Another lovely high quality brand. Yesterday it was Doc Martens, today it's Rikers. So we're going to give you the opening line from a well-known song, and then you have to give us the title of the song. Now, yesterday's winner gave us the artist as well, which is a bonus, not necessary, but anyway, we just need the title. And we want you to text your answer, name and where you're from to 086 60 25,000. And the opening line of a song, or the song today, is I Come Home in the Morning Light. I Come Home in the Morning Light. What is the title of that song? I Come Home in the Morning Light. It's so recognisable, it's actually hard to say without putting the melody in there. So if you know the answer, text or WhatsApp the answer, your name and address to 086 60 25,000, and you today could be the winner of a pair of Rikers, thanks to Greens Shoes. Check out greenshoes.com for more. And Gloria won the Doc Martens yesterday, just in case you weren't tuning in. Gloria Ford from Letterkenny. So Doc Martens went to Gloria. Who's going to get the Rikers? Get involved in that ASAP. It's free for you to enter, of course. We had a contact from another listener. Dog poo's really dangerous, says a listener. I've heard of players having a leg amputated because of dog-infected wound. I understand the club is CCTV. They should name and shame the owners of the dogs. Now, there's no context to this, but I actually believe that's as it relates to Donegal Town Rugby Club. I think they had an issue with dog fouling on their pitch. There's some nasty stuff in dog poo, but as I say, that's just a comment, and I believe that's what it's relating to. Hi, Greg. The people of Donegal are very lucky to have both No Barriers and the Stroke and Medical Rehabilitation Units in St. Connell's. Both have better rehab outcome for people than the National Rehab in Dublin. These both should be celebrated more. Well, No Barriers almost could have a co-presenter role on this show, because we have them on regularly because they do such amazing work. And they're always coming up with new and innovative ways, or being recognised nationally for the work that they do. That being said, I will put my hands up. The Medical Rehabilitation Unit in St. Connell's is not something we've discussed on the show in my time before that I can recall, and be more than happy to do so, to give them a platform as well.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Do you think about your legacy and what you want to leave behind? You know, I've had a great life. My childhood was filled with love and support. But not every child is that fortunate. Many face poverty and adversity on a daily basis. So I'm leaving Bernardo's Ireland a gift in my will, to pass on the chance of a brighter future to these children. Visit bernardos.ie/pass it on to get involved and make a difference.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
Driving that ignites the senses. Design that defies convention. Power that moves you. Discover it all at the Cooper Obsession sales event. From October 1st to 11th, you can enjoy specification upgrades on the new Fermentor and Leon, or boost your SEAI grant to €7,000 on the all-electric Born. Explore the full Cooper range, including electric, plug-in hybrid, petrol or diesel. Visit cooperofficial.ie to find your obsession. Terms and conditions apply.
Your local Cupra dealer is DMG Motors, Clara Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 97 21396.
Right, you're welcome back to the programme. We're joined on it now by political correspondent Sean Defoe. Good morning, Sean.
Morning, Greg.
Thanks so much for joining us. The excitement's almost gone out of budget day now because we've a fair idea of the nuts and bolts of it, don't we, as to who's going to get what.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we've got a good picture of the broad strokes of it at least. I suppose we would start maybe with the social protection budget. It's one of the biggest, and €2.7 billion of a spend this year, including a €12 increase across the board in the social welfare rates, and then a whole host, 10 different, in fact, one-off payments that are going to be made to people. They include a double Christmas bonus of social welfare payments and another double in October, then 2 double payments of the child benefit that are going to come in November and December, and one-off lump sum payments for people who are living alone, carers, people on disability supports, and various things like that. So there's a very, very large, what's been described in the department as an unprecedented budget, actually, from that front. And then, across a whole host of other measures, we can list them off as you want to. But
Yeah,
we have
go on
a good
ahead,
idea
yeah.
where we are. Yeah, well, I suppose if you maybe pick up on housing is a big one that people are going to be asking about. There's going to be increases in the housing budget. There's going to be extension of the Help to Buy scheme out until 2030. There's going to be a tax on the residential hoarded land, effectively, as they see it. This was a big row a couple of weeks ago in the coalition, but has made it into the budget. There's some of the big ones. And then the cost of living package as well is going to be close to €2 billion, and it's going to be things like the energy credits for people, which will be worth €250 paid in 2 goes, one in November and one in December, of €125 each. So, between those, the one-off payments that people are getting, there is an awful lot in this, and it is the government splashing cash that they maybe otherwise haven't had. And when you look at other countries across Europe, they certainly don't have.
Yeah, in relation to the housing side of things, we learned recently, didn't we, that there's tens of thousands of homes that have been approved for planning permission, but developers aren't progressing with them because there's not enough money in it for them, really, effectively. So we can bring in an awful lot of initiatives, but if the developers aren't breaking ground, the houses aren't necessarily going to be built at the rate the government might want. Do you think there'll be anything in there to try and address that?
Well, so the one of the things the government points to on that is actually the Help to Buy. They say that, look, it is guaranteed 30 grand in the pockets of buyers that you can go then and build your homes and know you're going to get your deposit and then get the money on the back of it. I think it's sort of this mad situation where you do have builders, particularly when it comes to apartments, saying that it's not financially viable for them to do, and yet they're also not financially viable for people to purchase. So you will probably see, maybe not in this budget because it's been baked into a number of different budgets, an extension of the other government schemes, the shared equity scheme, for example, and the Help to Buy out to the end of the year. And then where we're going to see a big focus on housing is in the Apple tax money. So they're not going to say specifically how that is going to be spent today, as in it's going to go on line item X, Y, and Z, but they are going to outline how it will be allocated, and a big chunk of that is going to go to the Land Development Agency, which has been in charge of identifying sites around the country to then give to developers effectively to help them undercut their costs of building and get more people building houses, selling state land cheaply in order to get houses cheaper. There have been problems with it. Some of the houses that they have developed are far from affordable, despite being labelled as affordable. But that is the general thinking about trying to bring that cost of building down, make it more economic for builders, and then, as a result, more economic for people to buy them.
In terms of school-going children and up to sort of third level as well, some measures being introduced to take the pressure off families in that regard.
Quite a lot. There is going to be €1,000 cut in the student fees at third level, and also a 15% increase in the SUSI grants that people get. Also changes to who can get it. So there has been adjustments, and this was a cabinet last week, to bring more people into the net, if you like, of SUSI, so they can get the student grant. Then when it comes, this is one of the big legacy pieces of the budget, I think, when it comes to schools, is the free school book scheme. It's going to be extended out to Leaving Cert. So over the last number of budgets, it has gone from the situation that we all had, where we had to buy our books and They were very often quite expensive, to now there are free school books provided by the state through primary and through secondary level education. And an interesting little one in the education budget actually is there's money going to be given to schools next year to fund programs to make them phone-free places. So things like these pouches, which are basically electronically sealed pouches that a student just put their phone in at the start of the day. It gets locked up and they can only undo it at the end of the day at a machine outside of the school. So there's going to be funding towards that as well.
The old reliables, as they become known, cigarette tax is going to increase. It always does, doesn't it? And we've been waiting on this, I think, for a number of years. Vaping tax, for them to sort of say, right, okay, less people are smoking. They're probably an element to discourage vaping as well. But now a tax is going to be introduced on vaping products.
That's right. So on the cigarettes, it's going to be somewhere between 50 cent and €1 added onto a box on top of the 75 cent that was there last year. Nothing on the alcohol this year. And then on the vapes, we don't have the specifics yet of how that is going to work or what percentages going to be, but they are certainly starting to crack down on vaping, banning it for children, banning the advertising to children as well, and now putting the tax on. And Micheál Martin has described in the past vaping as being like the revenge of the smoking industry, so they definitely want to clamp down on that. Some of the other tax measures that might actually benefit people, you've got changes to income tax, so the point at which you pay the higher rate is going to be increased to €44,000, which will help out people a bit to the tune of a couple €100 a year. And then also the USC. So the big change to the USC is that the 3% rate, which people pay on income between 25 and 70,000, that's going to be reduced by a percentage point down to 2%. So overall, I think Jack Chambers has said this budget will be worth about €1,000 into everyone's pocket, or the pocket of average workers at least, during the course of this budget. And they're two of the measures that they're looking at to put it directly into your pocket from your paycheck.
There was some hope that 9% VAT rate would be reintroduced for the hospitality sector. That's not going to happen now. That was an 11th hour sort of decision, I believe.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, the decision had been made before that, and as much as Peter Burke had tried to push it, and he had put it into yesterday, and even sources yesterday were saying, look, it isn't quite 100% settled, but I don't think it was ever going to happen. It has been probably the only really big loss or measure that didn't get over the line in a very big spending budget. Peter Burke was arguing that it could just be for cafes or restaurants or hairdressers and not necessarily for hotels, because the big opposition in government is towards the hotels industry because of how around certain events and certain big gigs there has been very obvious price gouging going on, and that they can't then justify giving them a reduction in the VAT rate. They've decided not to go down the route of separating it out then for other people. So that will be one that I'd say a lot of businesses, a lot of small businesses in particular, and cafes who are struggling, will be disappointed with this morning.
Yeah, and I presume the government will outline some sort of tax breaks or exemptions for businesses that would have availed of that on with lower incomes to sort of offset that somewhat, they might argue. And what does this mean in terms, Sean, of when we're going to have this election? Some of these measures are immediate, before Christmas, but this is Budget 25. Much of what you've outlined will kick in next year. What does this tell us about the timing of a budget? Mid to late November? Not budget, sorry, an election.
An election, yeah. It's coming soon. It's definitely coming soon. It has changed over the last few years in that there's always been something in the cost of living packages that has happened in the year that the budget is announced. There's definitely more of it this year. There's definitely going to be more money in people's pockets before Christmas than in previous years. And I think it does signal that this is definitely a pre-election budget. Even in all the spinning and leaking that was going on yesterday, each party is looking at the different wins that it has and how it can sell them on the doors. So Fine Gael will be looking at the likes of income tax, but also inheritance tax, where you're going to see changes to the band there for what a child can inherit from a parent, up to, I think, €400,000. Fianna Fáil will point at the school books and will point at the housing measures that have come in as something that they secured. And then the Greens will be looking at measures like this baby bonus, which is that all new parents are going to get a €420 payment in the month that their child is born, and also reductions to the cost of public transport, where public transport will be free for under nines and remain at a 20% discount for other people. So they are all very clearly laying out their territory and the points that they can knock on doors with. I had a feeling the election was going to be called next week, next Thursday. I think I'm wrong in that now, because Simon Harris is travelling to Washington. He's not going to be back until very late on the Thursday night.
Well, they don't mind making big announcements over in Washington. We saw Leo Varadkar do that. Just in relation to that, and I won't hold you any longer because I know you're up to your ears, But my understanding was if they'd given two electricity credits totaling 250, so a total of 500, that would have required legislative change, which might have pushed the election back. There's no significance, is there, to them breaking that down into two 125 electricity credits? I'm not saying the whole election is hung on that, but one has to wonder, was that to free up a bit of time? I don't know.
Well, I think that was more because the rate of inflation has been coming down in energy credits, and they didn't think it warranted the spend, because it has been a big spender. It's a lot of money to do, not a whole lot for people. But look, I think the things that might hold it up at this stage are all pretty trivial. And once Simon Harris arrives back in the country next week, I think it's game on at any point for him to go up to the Áras and to then call the election. It could happen the following Tuesday, which would put the date at somewhere between the 15th and 22nd of November, which I think is still the most likely.
Yeah.
No one in government, or certainly Harris himself, has said next year that's when we're doing. His language has gotten a bit softer. Haven't met a single other minister who thinks it's a good idea to go into next year. I think we're going in November. And when you see things like the OPW spending starting to rack up and build up as a story that could become the story of an election, with a little bit longer for journalists to tease it out and look into other projects, I think he's going early.
Sooner the better, he might say. Okay, thanks, Sean. That is political correspondent Sean Defoe there. And tomorrow we will try and break down as to what all this actually means for you, because, we're hearing a lot of things in USC and this, that and done. And there are calculators that are often put together, but we will try and get as best as we can determinations as to how this may or may not benefit you. Paul McLaughlin of Ballochder Garden Centre is going to join us for the last time this season. So we're in the garden for the last time with Paul McLaughlin. So if you have any questions for him, as we are in autumn now, I think we can concede as much as we might try and resist, or questions for winter, or even planning for spring or summer next year, because it comes around very, very quickly. Paul will join us after 11. So any questions for Paul McLaughlin of Ballochder Garden Centre, text or WhatsApp them right now. And it might be easier for you to articulate it by way of a voice message. So if you want to ask your question to Paul via voice message, you can do that on WhatsApp as well. Greg, how are all these roadworks, new roads being built and no emergency lane being put in? It's crazy, says a listener. Are you on about once completed or whilst they're being built? My understanding is that every contract within it has to have a plan in place to deal with emergency vehicles. I could be wrong on that, but that was my understanding. This is Donegal County Council at its best. They've got traffic management, but still they haven't a clue about road traffic management. I'll just have to clarify, that's probably a TAI job, is it? I'm not sure if the council are responsible for that, but anyway, let me double check that. I don't want to attribute blame where it's not deserved. And last week, one before the break, from the Ramelton side of Alcorns to the traffic lights at the Polestar, the traffic is backed up. The traffic has never been this bad. I'm a lorry driver and this will affect my hours. These lights clearly aren't working. Well, lorry driver, the solution is going to be an extended roundabout and more traffic lights. What's that part of the road called, Caroline, where they're putting new traffic lights? There's different names on it. Anyway, I'll find out. It escapes me just at the moment. But anyway, I wonder how that will help or assist, if at all. Let's see.
Farmers, are you in need of finance? At B&S Credit Union, their new Cultivate loan is available at a great loan rate for loans up to €75,000 for all your farming needs. Call free phone 1800 290 390 or visit bnscu.ie/cultivate for full details. Their dedicated and experienced loans team will be delighted to help you complete the loan process. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. B&S Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
For all you hard workers and multitaskers, those who come to work with big ambitions and bigger ideas, and all you legends of the trade, however you get the job done, there's a Volkswagen commercial vehicle for your business. Choose the new Transporter, Caddy Cargo, Crafter, Amarok, or the all-electric ID Buzz Cargo. Enjoy HB finance from 0% or purchase contributions of up to €2,000. Find the Volkswagen in you with the 251 range. Terms and conditions apply. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland and subject to lending criteria. Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Visit volkswagenvans.ie for further information.
Testing. Do you need to get your hearing tested? Test your hearing with a free sample hearing aid from Hidden Hearing. Order your free sample hearing aid today. Call 1800 370 000 or visit hiddenhearing.ie.
Keep out the cold, cold, cold! And ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhinney's. Support local at McElhinney's. With 53 years experience in fashion, beauty and home, we're here for you. Plus, enjoy M-Card rewards when you shop in-store at McElhinney's Ballybuffet.
Let me see. Today is going to be mostly dry with long sunny spells. Temperatures ranging 13 to 15 degrees in moderate to fresh northerly winds. Okay, Charlie McGinty is club president at the Donegal Town Rugby Club, or Donegal Town Rugby Football Club to give it its full title. He's with me now. Hi Charlie, thanks for the time this morning. Good morning to you.
All right, Greg. Yeah, good morning to you.
And I think, regrettably, you're having to put up another post about mess on the playing surface. What did you encounter most recently, Charlie?
Well, I think it's been happening for about the last 3 or 4 weeks that we're coming across. There's a lot of dog mess being left on the pitch, and it's obviously causing a lot of problems because, as you probably well know, it's quite a risk health-wise, especially with children. And obviously, we're having to hold up matches to get the dog mess picked up off the pitch or whatever before the games can even be played. So,
how bad is the problem?
Well, it might only be in a few places, but it's obvious it's something we've never had a problem with before, and we do have notices around the ground, and it is a private ground. So we're just sort of a bit concerned as to why it should be happening at this point in time. So.
Yeah, so someone's obviously, and I don't know if it's one or a number of dogs, but it's a big green area. They're bringing the dogs down, letting them run, poo wherever they want to, maybe throwing them into the car or walking home and leaving it for you guys to clean up before the kids play.
Yeah, I mean, they probably don't realise just how much of a health hazard it is because it can cause blindness. It's all down to the eggs that are in the feces, and although it takes a bit of time for it to sort of become dangerous, if it's not picked up fairly quickly, it could become a long-term problem. So.
Yes, and even without those health risks, I mean, obviously, you know, there's rugby is there could be a lot of ground action in it, so to speak, or even getting it on your boots. It's very unpleasant, even without those health risks, and completely unnecessary. Really,
well,
isn't it?
If you take the extreme situation, you could end up with your face in it because being tackled or whatever, and it's just totally unnecessary and a bit inconsiderate by the people that are doing it. I know we've got our boundary, which runs alongside the beach, is quite open, so if dogs are let to run, then they could sort of quite easily get onto the pitch without the owners even being on there themselves. So.
Yeah, exactly. And also, too, like any club, a lot of the work is volunteer work. When people could be doing other things, they're going down to sort of try and bring the next stars of a sport on, or indeed just to occupy younger people. That time could be better spent than sweeping up dog poo off a playing pitch.
Oh, of course, yeah. And apart from the fact that it's a very unpleasant task to have to do, it just should not be happening. And as you say, they're all volunteers. They're given a lot of time themselves, their parents and the coaches, and they shouldn't have to do it. So.
All right, okay, Charlie. Well, listen, we hope if it's one or a group of individuals, whoever it might be, might actually consider the implications for others and either keep their dogs off the playing surface, preferably because it is private property, or make sure that they pick it up, one or other, because we don't need this crack. All right, Charlie, thanks for your time. Take care. All right, Charlie McGinty there. Right, so the bit of controversy about name badges on... that hospital staff are starting to, or having to wear name badges. It's not a local decision that's being made, by the way, and often when these things happen locally, the blame can land local, but this is a guidance that's coming from further up the chain, and there's been some controversy about name badges, full names on the name badges. People have claimed to have been approached outside work or have messages on social media or whatever it might be. There's just more an easier way to identify someone. You see the face, you have the full name. Not hard to track someone down on Facebook or Instagram if they happen to be on it. But anyway, if you're affected by that, by the way, and maybe you are a staff member and have an issue with them, or maybe you don't, you can contact us in absolute confidence, by the way. Text 086 60 25,000 or call us on 07491 25,000. We got this email in, though, from a listener, and it reads as follows. I was admitted to Letterkenny University Hospital earlier this year, and the one thing I noticed was no one was wearing a name badge from the time I entered the ED to being admitted onto a ward. Every nurse had a swipe card around their neck, but nobody was identifiable. At no time did anyone introduce themselves, and I was the one who had to keep asking, who are you? By the end of my stay, I was just too sick to keep asking, so I eventually stopped. The reason I feel a name badge should be worn is to feel safe. I feel if there are no introductions, then no one is taking responsibility for my care. Personally, I was left feeling unsure and in doubt about whom to trust. It's important that the correct information is given to the correct people at all times. As a recently retired nurse with 27 years' experience, wearing name badges is crucial for three reasons, they say. First, it enables us as nurses to establish trust with our patients and allows them to put a name to the face of someone who will be caring for them during one of the most vulnerable times in their life. Secondly, the trust gives patients the confidence to raise any ongoing concerns or problems during their care that would otherwise be very challenging to do with strangers. Lastly, not wearing a name badge makes submitting complaints near impossible. Some patients will be too scared to ask for the name of a nurse, especially those patients who've been a victim of patients' negligence, incompetence or acts of abuse. In Ireland, we're so blessed with fantastic nursing care right across the board, but patients do have a right to raise a complaint when they believe any medical professional, including nurses, have neglected their duty of care. As nurses, we've both a professional and legal duty of care to our patients. These are simple points, but it makes the world of difference when you are sick. Regards, as always, which is interesting and kind of sways me. I don't know, you see, I'm on the fence. I don't know. I'm not a nurse. I haven't been a patient. And I don't know the scenarios where this might be important, but this emailer makes some very interesting points there. I mean, if you are front facing, being in a shop or wherever it might be, or even say, for instance, someone like me or Caroline, or you all know Caroline's second name, you know my second name. I mean, if I didn't want to be contactable on social media, you probably would lock your account and make sure it was sort of for friends and family only, people that you confirm. I'm not saying people are being contacted on social media, but that seems one obvious way someone might be able to be tracked down. But as I say, this emailer makes some strong arguments. If there's counterpoints to be made, please let me know. We're interested in all views here, of course, on the 9 till noon show. But that was just someone coming from a different perspective. Now, they're a nurse for 27 years. Maybe things are very different now in terms of technology and what have you, but Facebook's been around for half that person's career, so maybe that's a moot point. Right, okay. We are going to go to the news very, very shortly. But we have a very quick chat with Darren Collins, the secretary of Sean McCool's GEA Club. Darren, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
Hello, Greg. How are you getting on?
Good, good. Right, problems with people leaving rubbish behind them. There are bins there. They're not using them. What's the story, Darren?
I suppose like any large event, Greg, when you have a combination of people and they're having their teas and their coffees, and children are having their crisps and their sweets and stuff, it has been commented to us there at the weekend that there was a large combination of mess on the Sunday after the Saturday evening's games. I suppose it's just culture of people just to leave the rubbish behind them now, and unfortunately, as a volunteer organisation, it is very hard for us to keep a handle on that.
Yeah, and you see it in cinemas too. There's certain events people go to, and it's not all people, it's some people, but it's enough people that we're talking about it seem to maybe think that they can just drop it at their arse.
Well, that's one way of putting it, yeah.
Probably not the most polite way, my apologies. I forgot I was on the radio for a second, but you know what I mean, that's what they're doing.
Well, I mean, you see it on the public streets as well, there's bins there, but people just seem to drop things at their arse, as you say. We don't like seeing it. We like to keep our ground as pristine as possible. We have a full crew of people in there on a Monday to Friday, and they keep the ground impeccable. And, we try to put out more bins, separate our recyclables, and keep with the green theme. But we need the cooperation of the people visiting the ground to help us out as well, and just be mindful.
Yeah.
I suppose the best thing that ever happened is the recyclable bottles.
They don't
It's
leave
great
them.
to see the young. No, they're great to see the young people running around the games after, trying to pick up as many bottles as they can for a few
Right.
pounds themselves.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, Darren. Was it a particular issue on Sunday, or is it just this has been the culmination of it happening over and over again, and it's time to speak out?
Well, it's always been a problem, but it's been I suppose everybody sees it. Nobody wants to comment on it. I think we received some criticism about it over the weekend, which is unfair because, we are a club ground. We try to keep our facilities as pristine as possible. We have thousands of people walking through our gates every year. But we would ask if people who visit the grounds for the finals coming up now will, just be mindful. And we are beside Drumbo Woods. We have a large amount of wildlife that come about, and when they see as a source of food, they come in, and it adds more problems. So just take your rubbish with you.
Well, Darren,
There
that's
will
what
be
it comes
bins there
down
for
to.
you.
We always look for someone to blame, or an organisation or an entity to blame. Bottom line is none of this would happen if people took their rubbish and put it in a bin. We can't blame
Correct.
Sean McCool's for this. It's simply people who've bought a sandwich, a cup of coffee, or whatever it might be, or brought in their own bottle or a bag of crisps. There's bins there. Put them in the bin. Don't dump them at your feet. Because it's all a group of individuals that are responsible. Not all of them, of course, but anyone who's leaving the rubbish behind them is responsible. Not Sean McCool's, in my view. But so I do think any criticism, if you've got the bins there, any criticism you're receiving is unfair. Okay, it's going to be a busy wee while ahead, and it's always busy at Sean McCool's. So just take your rubbish and put it in the bin or take it home. Darren, thanks for your time. Take care of yourself.
No problem.
All right.
Thank you, Greg.
Bye, Darren.
Make more meals for less with Dunnes Stores, where you'll save in the aisle with ingredients for a vibrant salmon teriyaki bowl. That's 2 fresh salmon darns, just €4. Served with vegetables like avocado, just 49¢, tangy teriyaki sauce and basmati rice, 250 grams, just 65¢. Plus, you can save again at the till with a 5 off 25 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used in next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more.
The Connolly Motor Group Donegal Motor Show is back for 2025, taking place from October 7th to 19th at Canal Road, Letterkenny. Test drive our premium vehicles including diesel, hybrid and all-electric options. Call by to speak to a member of our team and view our 2025 range of Audi and Mercedes-Benz vehicles. Drive into 2025 with your brand new vehicle from Connolly Motor Group. For more information and dates, visit connellys.ie.
Don't miss the huge Doors and Floors 2-day sale at Donegal Town Hardware. Get up to 15% off acoustic panels, up to 20% off handles and locks, and up to 25% off floors, with savings of up to €1,000 on full house lots. Expert staff will be on hand to answer all your queries. That's the massive Doors and Floors sale event for 2 days only, this Friday 4th and Saturday 5th of October at Donegal Town Hardware.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. The Taoiseach is rejecting suggestions. The government is preparing for a giveaway budget this afternoon. Cabinet is meeting at the moment to approve the measures that will be announced in the Dáil after 1 o'clock. A social welfare package of €2.7 billion will be revealed, including €1.5 billion in one-off payments. Well, earlier in a message this morning, Simon Harris said he believes this budget will deliver to people in Donegal.
I know that families across County Donegal need more help in today's budget. That's why we're going to make sure we deliver a really substantial cost of living package. We're going to put about €2 billion back into people's pockets between now and Christmas. We're also looking at targeted measures to help the most vulnerable in our society, as well as our pensioners and our carers. In addition to being able to do these things, though, we're also putting money away for our kids' futures. But I am determined that this budget helps people in the here and now. Very confident the budget today is going to make a real difference to people.
A protest is due to take place this afternoon at the site of the redevelopment of Ard Scolwera in Gweedore. It had been indicated that the social housing development, which is due to start next week, would include a 5-bedroom assisted living facility for adults with intellectual disabilities. Local councillor Micheál Columcille Aspig says his understanding is that element of the plan is not now progressing. He says today's protest will be focused on urging the developer and Donegal County Council to reinstate the assisted living project.
I've been a part of the housing SPC for a long time, and this has been something that we've discussed right through the number of years, and only by pure chance to find out that there's a move to remove it and not to build it only came to my attention by pure chance, and that's why we're organising and trying to put pressure on the council and the developer to build what is needed in our community.
Well, that assisted living facility was first proposed by Deputy Pierce Doherty, and he confirmed to Highland Radio News this afternoon that in his conversations with the developer in recent days, the developer has indicated he is willing to proceed. Deputy Doherty says the hold-up at the moment is the approved housing body, which is developing the facility, has yet to make a formal application. A meeting to discuss that will take place next week involving a number of agencies, and once that meeting takes place, Deputy Doherty is hopeful of progress.
There will be a meeting next week between the HSE, the contractor and the approved housing body, and I understand the approved housing body then will make their decision within the following weeks after that. But I am very hopeful. It's always been my ambition to make sure that this happens, and that there has been a drop in terms of communication. My job over the last number of weeks and months was actually to bring all of the parties together. That has been happening. There's a clear understanding between all the parties now. You need the developer to be willing to build this home on his own land, and he has told me that he is willing, if there's an approved housing body, to take it over.
Gardaí are appealing for witnesses to a serious crash in County Roscommon last evening. Emergency services attended the scene of a collision between a car and a jeep on the N4 at Ardcarn near Boyle. A man in his 70s was taken to Sligo University Hospital with serious injuries. A woman in her 40s was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Revised opening hours have been announced for the Garda station in Ballabafay following queries from Patrick McGowan, the councillor, at a recent JPC meeting. It's been confirmed the Garda station will open Monday to Friday from 10 to 1 and 2 to 4, and on Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 1 if a Garda is available. The station will have to close if Gardaí are responding to a call-out. Councillor McGowan has given the confirmation a cautious welcome, saying it's a very busy station that covers a long land border with Northern Ireland. Uisce Éireann say repairs to a burst water main may cause supply disruptions to Glassershoe and the surrounding areas in West Donegal. Works are scheduled to take place until 3 o'clock this afternoon. There's more detail and a link to Uisce Éireann's update system on our website, highlandradio.com. And in international news, Israel has sent a warning to people in southern Lebanon due to heavy fighting taking place there. It's launched a ground offensive on Lebanese soil for the first time in 2 decades, saying it's begun limited raids on targeted areas against Hezbollah. It follows days of airstrikes which have seen 1 million people displaced and hundreds killed. Etty Higgins is UNICEF's Deputy Representative for Lebanon.
It's been a very, very difficult night across Lebanon. An increased level of airstrikes late last night and evacuation orders issued for tens of thousands of residents across the southern suburbs of Beirut.
Mostly dry with long sunny spells today. Top temperatures 13 to 15 degrees Celsius in moderate to fresh northerly winds. Mainly dry overnight with long clear spells and just some patchy cloud cover. Some mist or fog patches may develop in the west and southwest. Lowest overnight temperatures hitting 3 to 7 degrees Celsius in light to moderate northeast winds. Tomorrow looks set to be largely dry and bright with a mix of cloud and long sunny spells. A chance of 1 or 2 passing showers. Top temperatures on Wednesday 13 to 15 in fresh east to northeast winds. That's Highland Radio News. Check all of the news, of course, on our website, highlandradio.com. But for now, from the news team, good morning. The obituary notices for this Tuesday morning, the 1st of October. The death has occurred of Danny Kelly, Mean Glass, Ballabafay, reposing at his late residence from 2 o'clock this afternoon. Removal from there tomorrow, Wednesday evening at 6:20 to arrive at St Mary's Church, Sesha O'Neill at 7, reposing overnight. Requiem Mass on Thursday morning at 11, followed by interment in the adjoining churchyard. Family time, please, from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the Killygordon Parish YouTube channel. The death has occurred of Danny Gordon, Figurt, Isle of Doe, Clonmany. His remains will repose at the family home from 12 noon today. Funeral from there on Thursday morning at 10:20, going to St Mary's Church, Clonmany for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Danny's Requiem Mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. Family time please from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Inishowen Hospice, Carndonagh and St Columkill Village, Clonmany, care of any family member or McFeely Funeral Directors. The death has occurred of Eileen Connolly, née McCutcheon, 82, Ard O'Donnell, Letterkenny, reposing at her late residence from 12 noon to 9 p.m. daily, concluding with Rosary at 9. Removal from there on Thursday morning to St Eunan's Cathedral for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed on churchservices.tv, followed by burial in Cornwall Cemetery. Family time please on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of Pascal Blake, Funeral Director. The death has taken place of George Conway, 39, Glenelly View, reposing at the family home. Funeral from there on Thursday morning at 10:30, going to Sacred Heart Church, Plumbridge, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Northwest Concert Centre, care of McGuigan Funeral Directors, Gorchin Oma. Family time please from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of Colin McHugh, 249 Town Parks Convoy. His remains are reposing at his home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Convoy, followed by burial in the family plot in the old graveyard. Family time please after the Rosary at 9 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only please. The death has taken place of Deirdre McDade, née Callaghan, Minagori, Buncrana, reposing at her brother Kevin Callaghan's home at Clondlash, Buncrana, leaving there tomorrow morning at 10 for 11 o'clock funeral mass in St Mary's Church, Cockhill. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu to iCare, iAdult and Sonus. House private please from 10 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. The death has occurred of Nora Doherty, née Blaney, Sapa Muff, formerly of Fanad, leaving her late residence this morning at 10:15, going to St Patrick's Church, Ishkaheen, for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed on mcnmedia.live. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Murphy Funeral Directors. The death has occurred of Rose Kelly, née Byrne, 25 Black Rock Drive, Ballabafay, formerly of Capri, Ballabafay. Funeral from her residence this morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock in the Church of Mary Immaculate, Stranora. Interment in Drumbo Cemetery. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish webcam. Donations in lieu of flowers if desired to the Donegal Hospice, Letterkenny, care of any family member. And the death has occurred of Desi Lafferty, 481 The Curragh, Killygordon. Funeral from his late residence this morning at 10:30 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Crossroads, Killygordon. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The Mass can be viewed via the parish webcam. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Charles Lynch, Funeral Director. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Neil's gym was doing well, but he knew it could be doing even better. When he discovered Direct Mail Navigator from An Post Commerce, it was like a weight was lifted. With Direct Mail Navigator, you can build the right in-home advertising campaign for your business, printed and delivered within 3 working days. See how Direct Mail can help your business punch above its weight, just like Neil did. Visit onpost.com/directmail and get out there today. On Post Commerce, a world closer. T's and C's apply.
Good morning again. You're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Coming up shortly, we'll have Community Garda information. Sergeant Charlene Anderson from the Buncrana Garda Station is going to be in studio with us. We are looking for information as it relates to assaults in Letterkenny and Buncrana, criminal damage in Carndonagh, and 2 instances of that, and in Moville as well, and also renewed appeals in relation to some burglaries in the southern part of the county. So that's all coming up shortly. Stay tuned for that and so much more besides. Paul McLaughlin of Ballochder Garden Centre is also back in with us, but it is for the last time for this gardening season. If you have any questions for Paul as it relates to, the current state of things for the autumn into the winter and maybe even plans for spring, now's the time to get your message in. 086 60 25,000. If you get it in now, I guarantee you I'll get an answer for you. So please get involved in that if that's of help to you. And a mention of our competition running this week. Today we've got a great prize for you. It's a pair of Rikers. You know what they are, don't you? Lovely footwear. Available from Green's Shoes. They've got stores in Letterkenny, Falcarra, down in Limerick and Galway too, and wherever you are on greenshoes.com. We're going to give you the opening line of a well-known song, and we want you to give us the name of the song. So the opening line is, I come home in the morning light. I come home in the morning light. What song's that from? What song does that start? Text or WhatsApp your answer, name and address to 086 60 25,000. 086 60 25,000. I come home in the morning light. Name the song. You'll get that. It's a piece of cake. You've got it, don't you? You have it. Now you have a member of the club on the traffic coming out of the car park on Sunday. Oh, sorry, this was too late. Now you have a member of the club on. The traffic coming out of the car park on Sunday after the Dunloe game was madness, and nobody there directing traffic on a busy day at the pitch. Surely someone should be out directing traffic. I think the money from the budget, says a listener, should be kept for the pension tsunami that's coming. A recession is coming. We need a safeguard saving budget, not a giveaway budget. I'm not sure about the risk of a recession, because even in Britain and America, where there was very much a fear of recession, it seems to have been offset somewhat. And we are an open economy, of course, so what happens elsewhere can affect us. I'm not sure there's a risk of a recession. There'll always be a recession coming, but I agree with you. There is a pension tsunami coming, and many people now listening in their 20s, 30s and 40s, they really need to start putting stuff away if they can, because they're not going to have very much to live on potentially when they reach an age to stop working. This caller says, though, we need to protect private pensions. People will be left with nothing again. Another caller says there's no tax on alcohol this year. There hasn't been an annual budget increase on alcohol in 10 to 20 years. Alcohol has gone up every year, so it's the vintners that are putting up the prices themselves. Or certainly, I think, from what I see, it is the major suppliers of the alcohol that seem to be putting the prices up, and vintners can't absorb that. They have to pass it on as well. In Northern Ireland, if working on the roads, if replacing water mains of anything like this, you have to leave the road every evening capable of letting a car use the road at night time. You have to use temporary tar and next morning start where you left off the evening before. You do not leave traffic lights and no emergency service lane. You fill in the track and put temporary tar on the track until the next morning. Now, the roadworks that we've been talking about there at Barnesmore, the entry to Barnesmore there, effectively the more significant, the waterworks. It's not just a strip going up one side, it's effectively the whole side of the road. But we have to have something there for emergency vehicles, if there isn't. Greg, the modular homes seem to be turning into a mini children's hospital situation with the price away sky high. I don't think any of them have actually ever been delivered yet. We seem to have no control over costs in this country at all. It is just accepting that everything goes over budget. I wonder how much money the OPW has squandered over the years on all the various projects that they are involved in all over the country. Well, it was the Controller and Auditor General that spotted these increases, but because apparently there was a big panic on, even though, as you say, not many of these houses have been provided, checks and balances that should have been done, it seems, according to reports, weren't done. Full names being used for staff at the hospital. I think it is a great idea, says a listener. I had an incident recently where I was met with a very rude nurse. When I finished my business on the ward, I thought, no, that behaviour was unwarranted and unnecessary. So I asked another member of staff for her name. She was very reluctant to give it to me. If they are wearing their full identity, it might make them think twice about their behaviour. Interesting. I'm starting to see something of a divergence in views between staff. I've had no contact from staff personally, but I've seen reports of staff opinions and unions' opinions, and the public so far in what they're saying to us seem to be in favour of the badges. Hi, Greg. Who voted for the 15% property tax? Probably Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil. They should be named. Well, we'll get a breakdown of that. It kind of normally goes along the same lines every time it comes up. So we'll try and find that out for you. And lastly, just before we take a break, hi Greg, keep saying it until I'm blue in the face. A cost management team or individual needs to be put in place in every section of the public service. This can consist of an accountant, up to a team inclusive of quantity surveyors, legal heads, etc. Yesterday, the 15% LPT increase has been kept, yet the roads are still in an atrocious condition from last increase. Rates untouched. Shall the junkets remain? Asks Oshin. The property tax is not used for roads, though. I mean, if you're from Derry, your tax that you pay there, the similar tax, you might have access to your bin collection, local leisure centres, that type of thing. Here, it's not really for that. The last time I was told what it's used is often for match funding for investment in projects such as improvements at Slieve League or a visitor centre in Malin or wherever it might be, that money is often used as match funding to source national money. It's not necessarily for services. Now, if I'm wrong there, if that's changed, please feel free to contact me and correct me.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday, the 1st of October. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S17. It's game number 40. The numbers are 31, 74, 18, 27, 38, 60, 63, 79, 20, and finally 80. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Chasing that final ray of sunlight to the end of the garden, squeezing every drop out of your tea bag, scraping the last bit of that really nice face cream. In Ireland, we love getting the most out of everything, so why aren't we doing the same with our money? By moving to an AIB savings account today, you'll get more from your money by earning interest. Visit aib.ie/savings to explore your options. AIB, for the life you're after. Terms and conditions apply. Allied Irish Banks PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Welcome to Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms in Donegal Town. Discover affordable luxury with our bespoke fitted furniture solutions. With almost 30 years of serving Ireland and the Northwest, we're your trusted experts. Visit us Monday to Friday 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. and on Saturdays from 9 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. Book your free consultation today on 074 9725822 or visit cherrymore.ie. Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, where affordability and luxury combine.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025.
Now, it's just about to turn 20 past 10 on this Tuesday, the 1st of October, and it's time for the latest episode of Community Garda Information. And welcome back into studio, Garda Sergeant Charlene Anderson from Buncrana Garda Station. Charlene, thanks so much for calling up.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Is it up or down for you?
Down.
Down, okay, right. Okay, we've a lot to get through, and we'll kick off maybe with appeals, as we always do. And an assault at High Road in Letterkenny being investigated.
That's correct, Greg. So this morning, Garda are appealing for information in relation to a suspected assault that occurred on the High Road in Letterkenny in the early hours of Wednesday, the 25th of September, between approximately 3:30 and 3:40 a.m. Now, Garda were alerted to the fact that a man was injured on the High Road, somewhere near the County Museum, and an ambulance was called. Now, this gentleman was taken to Letterkenny University Hospital to receive treatment for non-life-threatening injuries. So we're appealing for anyone who may have been in the area, who may have witnessed the assault, to make contact with Gardaí in Letterkenny on 9167100. Or indeed, if anyone was in the area and may have dashcam footage, we just ask them to make that footage available to us.
And there's a second appeal for an assault as well, this time in Buncrana.
That's correct. So Gardaí in Buncrana, they're also investigating an assault that occurred at the Railway Road in Buncrana at approximately 10:45 p.m. on Saturday the 28th of September. Now, Gardaí were alerted that an altercation of some description had taken place at Railway Road, They then discovered an injured man in the area on arrival. So an ambulance was called and the man was also taken to hospital to receive medical treatment for injury sustained during the assault. Now, just once again, if anyone witnessed the incident, we'd ask them to contact Gardaí in Buncrana on 9320540, or if anyone has dashcam footage, they may have been in the area between, say, 10:30 and 11 p.m. We just ask them to make that available to us, Greg.
Now, criminal damage being investigated in Carndonagh.
So there's a number of criminal damage appeals this morning. The first one relates to a criminal damage incident that occurred at the Diamond in Carndonagh. And between Tuesday the 24th of September at 6 p.m. and Wednesday the 25th of September at 9 a.m. Now during that time, Greg, a rear window of a business premises was smashed, but no entry was gained to the building. So we'd appeal to anyone who may have observed any suspicious activity in the area between those times to contact Gardaí in Buncrana on 9320540.
A second incident in Carndonagh.
And the second incident, that's correct, Greg, that occurred at Benduff, Carndonagh, between Friday the 20th of September at 10 p.m. and Saturday the 21st of September at 9 a.m. Now, damage was caused to 6 windows at a house in the area between those times, but no entry was gained to the property. So once again, our appeal is for anyone who may have observed any suspicious activity or indeed vehicles in that area between those times.
All right, criminal damage investigation ongoing now in Moville.
Yes, Greg, this incident occurred in the area of Glenagivney, Moville, between 6 p.m. on Wednesday the 25th of September and 6 p.m. on Thursday the 26th of September. Now, what we know is the 12 silage bales were stacked along the roadside in the area and the wrapping on them was slashed somewhere between those times. So if anyone once again observed any suspicious activity in the area of Glenagivney, Moville, again between the 25th of September at 6 p.m. and Thursday the 26th of September at 6 p.m. we'd ask them to contact Gardaí in Buncrana.
I mean, none of this makes any sense, but that's particularly completely and utterly pointless.
Absolutely.
Investigations ongoing and being renewed, I suppose, by way of an appeal in relation to burglaries down in Mount Charles.
That's correct, Greg. So we previously issued an appeal in relation to 2 burglaries that occurred in the area of Drumconnor and Mount Charles in the early hours of Monday the 12th of August. Now, there was 2 business premises in question. It was a garage and a car breaker's yard. They were located in close proximity to one another, and a large amount of Snap-on and Milwaukee hand and power tools and high-end diagnostic equipment was stolen during the course of these burglaries. Now, what we know is the Snap-on hand tools that were stolen was pry bars, spanners and ratchets. They have a distinctive green and black colouring on the grips, and the Milwaukee power tools that were stolen, the hammer drill, the impact wrench, the grinder, the rivet tools and batteries are all red and black in colour. The diagnostic equipment that was stolen is extremely specialised equipment and it can only be used by trained persons in the motor trade. So if anyone has come across these tools for sale, perhaps at a market or online or indeed by any other means, we just ask them to make contact with Gardaí, and they can contact any Garda station, or indeed they can contact the Garda Confidential line, 1800 666.
And anyone who, it's quite possible that someone has come into ownership of these and didn't realise where they originated from. Now, they may be out of money, but at the end of the day, it's very possible they could be connected to these items at some point down the road. So, as I say, if you have these in your possession now and you didn't realise where they came from, it is still now an opportune time to let Gardaí know. But there's further information you have on this investigation as well that might be useful.
That's right, Greg. So as part of our ongoing investigation into these 2 incidents, we wish to speak to anyone who travelled on the N56 between Donegal Town and Inver between midnight and 2 a.m. on Monday the 12th of August. Now, there was heavy thunder and lightning that night, and hopefully this might jog someone's memory. We're also anxious to speak to the driver of a Toyota Vensis. Now, no further details can be given at this time, but that was in the area of the N56 and the Milltown Bar around 1:20 a.m. on Monday, the 12th of August. We believe that the driver of this car may be in a position to assist us with our investigation. And once again, if anyone can assist us or has indeed any relevant information, perhaps as you mentioned there, may have bought some power tools or maybe have come into possession of them, we'd ask them to contact Gardaí in Ballyshannon this time on 071 98 58530.
And this is in no way connected to these items. I don't know if they're marked or not, but it is a reminder for us, isn't it, that these crimes can happen into the future, and there are property marking events that the An Garda Síochána run often. These types of items can be marked. Very useful if they're ever come across, which the Gardaí often do, getting them back to their original owners. As I say, unrelated to that appeal, but a good reminder about the importance of marking property.
Absolutely, and we have property marking events, Greg, and I suppose they're advertised on the Garda Facebook page, and also we'll mention them as well on the Community Garda information slot. Or if anyone just wants to contact us, if they have items that they want to get marked, we can make arrangements for that. It doesn't have to be a set event. They can come to the station if it's small items, or indeed, look, if it's a trailer or a larger item, we'll make arrangements to have it marked for them.
Now, an expensive little item missing. It's a DJI Mavic 3 Pro drone. You're looking for the public's help in tracking this down?
Yes, so Gardaí and Milford are appealing this morning for the assistance of the public in their attempts to locate, as you rightly said, their DJI Mavic 3 Pro drone that was reported as missing from Crowy Head in Dunlow on September 18th. Now, the drone was in a grey carry case along with the controller and batteries. So appeal to anyone who may have information in relation to the current whereabouts of the drone to make contact with Gardaí, or should anyone come across this type of drone for sale on a second-hand basis, we'd ask them maybe if they have it or they see it, if there's a serial number on it, if they can maybe note that, pass that on to Gardaí, or indeed, look, maybe just provide us with the information that they have, been maybe spoken to about the purchase of it, or they know where it is, or that, look, any information is always, we'll follow up on that. And Gardaí in Milford this time on 9153060.
All right, now warnings about scam text messages. And I think a lot of people listen to these and go, oh, who'd fall for that? Well, lots of us do. Lots of us do. And the purpose of getting the information out here now, I think, is to give people confidence to know it's a scam. Because I've got text messages and I've wondered, is it or isn't it? So I really think these information pieces are really valuable. So what's popping up most recently?
I feel like every time I'm in here, we're talking about some sort of a scam.
Well,
but
I've got
again,
another one when you'll finish this one.
It's a text message scam again, and it's in circulation, and it purports to be sent, Greg, on behalf of the bank, which in this case, it's Permanent TSB. Now, the text message informs the recipient that an attempt was made to transfer a large amount of money from their account and to make return contact with them if this is not a legitimate transaction. They then provide a phone number to contact them in relation to it. So the text message creates a sense of urgency, and of course that's the intention of the scammers. So what we don't want is for people to call that number back or try and make contact with it. If they receive such a message, we'd ask them obviously to contact their bank, not to click on any links, and don't contact the number provided in the text message. And of course, never disclose your personal or banking information to anyone.
Yeah, and the reason why that you can get caught out, because I had my I got a text message from my bank, and it says we've just noticed an unusual transaction at a car park in Belfast. If this was you, text back Y. If it wasn't you, text back N. So I says, well, listen, that's a scam.
Yes.
I'm not going to interact with this. Yeah. And then my card was blocked, which was a pain in the backside. Yeah. So banks do contact us in that way. But you just don't phone numbers or give any personal details, and just phone the bank.
And I suppose, look, scams are getting more sophisticated all the time. So it's just to really be aware and don't click on any links and don't call back any numbers. And if it is a query maybe from your bank and you think it might be legitimate, maybe perhaps just ring the bank directly and establish before you start clicking on any links.
In terms of the scam phone lines, the banks answer very quickly.
Yeah.
I've found in any case they have dedicated staff for that. But before you move on, these can be very timely as well. And thanks to Stefan for forwarding on this to me. It's a text message doing the round purporting to be from gov.ie, and it reads, you are eligible for a discounted electricity bill under the emergency benefit scheme. You can apply here, and the URL is ire-gov-electricity.com. It is a scam. You click onto that and you will be extorted, right? But just with the budget coming up and new payments being announced, someone might fall for that. So I just thought I'd mention that, if that's okay. Right, question from last week. Do both number plates on a car have to be white, and do they have to have the European flag on?
I suppose, Greg, the main requirement for Irish number plates is that the registration number, which consists of the numbers and the letters, must be in black and on a white reflective background. The name of the county of registration must be in Irish, whether that's Doonanall, Ballyoclea. The EU flag and the letters IRL must be placed on the left-hand side of the plate, and the flag shows 12 gold stars in a circle with the letters IRL in white underneath it all. and that's on a blue reflective background. Now, no other numbers, letters or marks should appear on your registration plate, and vehicle registration plates must be fixed to the front and rear of your vehicle. I suppose, look, from our perspective, it's number plates not conform in front and rear. Sometimes you might see them on cars, particularly around rally time, we would see a lot of it, but that's the requirement, as I've read out there, for the Irish number plates.
Yeah, okay. And
query.
It's pretty plain and simple. Greg, why does Letterkenny Garda Station have to get permission from Galway Garda Station to release a Garda car after reporting reckless driving? I reported a reckless driver drifting around the Kiltoy roundabout, but 10 minutes later had to take a call from Galway. By then the car would have been miles away. I presume they've rang the station number here.
Yes, that's correct, Greg. Just to put a bit of background onto it, so in February 2023, a new computer-aided dispatch system known as Garda Safe was introduced as part of a phased rollout to An Garda Síochána. Now, this new system is designed to enhance and improve our response and allow more efficient use of our resources. So what this new system means for the public is, now that when they ring their local Garda station and the call requires the dispatch of a Garda resource, such as a patrol car, an unmarked car, ASU, the call will then be transferred to a qualified call taker in the regional call centre in Galway, and this call taker will handle the call and provide the fastest and most suitable Garda response. But how the public would interact with An Garda Síochána, that remains unchanged. They can still contact us at any Garda station. They can visit the Garda Facebook page, they can email us, or indeed in an emergency 999 or 111. I suppose, look, we came under criticism a number of years ago for there was calls that were perhaps dropped or different things, and this is why the system was introduced. And what it means is there's a regional call centre down in Galway. It has a responsibility for the northwestern region, so anywhere from Galway to Louth to Donegal, and they have these maps in Galway. They can see what cars are nearby. So if you rang in from here, live, absolutely, they can zone into, we'll say Donegal, for instance. You have a call for here, they'll dispatch the most appropriate resource, and if that is a traffic unit or the 101, we would call it, is the car that responds on a daily basis to most of the calls in the area. They'll decide which car is nearest to that, and they'll dispatch that. Then they'll get a record of that call, so they'll know the guards are at it when they're at it, and they'll also, so it's really for governance and accountability going forward, that the call has been attended to. And this is the feedback from the call, whether it's cleared or whether there's a response or further action needs to be taken.
Is it ordinarily, would that call be transferred to Galway?
It has to be, yeah.
Because this caller talked of a callback, so maybe the line dropped or something, and that's why they got a call back from Galway.
I would say probably what happened, Greg, is they rang the station, and once they provided the information that there's a dangerous driving incident at Kiltoy, at that stage then there's resources has to be dispatched, so it's just transferred then to a call taker in Galway. They provide the information then, and the call taker dispatches. So Galway have responsibility for the official vehicles, and they know where they are, and they can see them moving on a map, and they decide what car is going to go to that call.
Just in that situation, because it does come up quite a bit, do you call the station, or do you wouldn't call 112 or 999 in that instance?
That's an emergency. They're all them numbers.
This isn't an emergency.
No, this is you can still call the Garda station, and as we called out the numbers there for all the different Garda stations, then the guard that receives that call will decide if it's something that requires to be actioned. Just what we're saying, if a car needs to go out, then that has to go to Galway, because it's Galway that has control of the vehicles, and they decide what unit they're going to dispatch to the call. It probably sounds. It is. I do appreciate it's difficult.
It kind of sounds more complicated when it's being explained than perhaps it actually is in. That, I mean, and people have had concerns about it in the past and so on and so forth. But it is what it is, and you've outlined it very well as to how it works. Okay, Garda Sergeant Charlene Anderson, thanks so much for your time as always. Really do appreciate it. Safe journey back to the station. That was Community Garda information for this Tuesday, the 1st of October. It's back with you after the 10 o'clock news next Tuesday.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Go full family dinners on Lidl Plus. Mix and match any 3 fresh meats for €9. Monday's perfect for some fresh Irish chicken. There's Irish pork and beef to get everyone excited for midweek meals. Then serve up turkey and fish for the tastiest of weekends. That's the week's meal sorted. Scan the Lidl Plus app and go full Lidl today.
Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure, supporting you with the right footwear. Suffering from joint pain, shin splints or foot injuries, we can help you with our range of footwear and experience. We select the best options from all the major brands: Brooks, Asics, New Balance, Hoka and On Footwear. Step into our safe size experience. We will update your gait analysis, measure your feet and recommend what will support your body and joints. Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny. Christmas Club now open.
I came to Donegal in 1994. I had a bird book then, a Collins Guide to Irish Birds. It says that there's 16,000 pairs of lapwing. Well, you could divide that by 1,000 now. Their numbers have declined by 95% since the 1980s.
That's Nature Farmers, a new series Wednesday nights on Highland Radio after the news at 8 p.m.
Right, sorry about that. I was around fiddling with some wires, but I'm back now. A caller says, regarding name badges in LUH, staff have no issue with a first name. The full name is no good as staff are being contacted on Facebook. There was no consultation. The staff will face disciplinary action if they're not warned. Staff are fearing for their safety. A first name should suffice. Those in the media have no choice but to be known by their names as they're working in the public eye. It's different for hospital staff. They didn't sign up for this, which also is a very good point. And that's the joy of sitting in this seat, is you get to hear all different views, and it helps to formulate your own opinion as well. And I'm sure that helps for listeners as well. Excuse me. Paul McLaughlin of Ballochdur Garden Centre is going to join us after 11. It's for the last time of the season. So any questions for Paul, get in touch right now. 086 60 25,000 or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. I'll make sure to get your question to Paul. And I'll give one more mention this hour to our competition we've got running in association with our friends at Green's Shoes. They've got stores in Galway and Limerick, closer to home, Falcarra and Letterkenny, but wherever you are online, greensshoes.com. Up for grabs today, it's a pair of Rikers. And I'm going to give you the opening line of a song. I just want the title of the song, your name and where you're from, to 086 60 25,000. And the opening line is, I come home in the morning light. What song's that? Text the answer, your name and where you're from, to 086 60 25,000 or WhatsApp if you prefer. The choice, quite literally, is yours. Right, let me now go to our next guest on the programme, and that person is Caroline O'Doherty, who's environment correspondent with the Irish Independent. Caroline, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Right, so some stark potential here in this story. It's new proposed laws that could give local authorities search and seize powers, this to crack down on smoky fuels. So who's talking about this, and at what stage is it in terms of, I suppose, a potential introduction, Caroline?
Well, those who are talking about it are the local authorities themselves. They are in charge of enforcing the smoky fuels ban. And I put slightly ban in the slightly inverted commas because there are exemptions to it. But it's supposed to have been in place for the last 2 years, meaning you should only have really low smoke coal, very little turf, if any at all, and well-dried timber in your open fire, if that's how you're heating your house. But in the 2 winters since it was introduced, there's persistent air pollution problems in particular areas, and not everywhere is monitored, so it could be far broader than that. Letterkenny would be one town where there are issues. So something doesn't add up there. If it's meant to be low smoke varieties, but there's still more pollution in the air, particularly on the cold, still days when there isn't wind to blow it all away, blow the evidence away, if you like. So something's not happening. The local authorities are the ones who are supposed to enforce this ban. What they've been doing to date is kind of fairly routine checks on retailers. Now, these would be very visible companies and outlets in towns. Your local reliable fuel merchant. So they're very visible. So and they're coming up compliant generally. With a tiny few exceptions, not in Donegal, but some other councils. A few exceptions where they found maybe the fuels were not coming up to the standards they were supposed to meet. But So what's the issue then? There is obviously an issue of sort of informal sales going on, or maybe people are bringing fuels from over the border or something. But what the councils have said is, look, we need more enforcement tools. They've gone to the Department of the Environment and said, give us a stronger hand. And the Department has come back and produced this piece of draft legislation, which is quite strong. Mm-hmm. And potentially does give them a lot of powers. So I can go into those if you like, but I'm going to say this with a word of warning. Like, we are in the dying months and possibly weeks, to some commentators say, of the government. So any new piece of legislation brought before the House now, it has limited chances of becoming law under this government. But the issues that are being raised by the councils won't go away.
And that being said, Caroline, before you run that, I think any government, whichever government is next in power, this is the type of decision they probably would actually try to make really quite early in the term, so that everyone's forgotten about it by the time the next election rolls around. So whilst we might not see it in the lifetime of this government, if the councils are listened to and this is enforced, I don't think they'll hang around and introduce it, whoever is in power.
I think there's some astute political analysis going there, actually. Yeah, I think you're right, because, the tone of it, when you look at the bare legislation, you're going to go, oh my goodness, that gives them a very strong hand. And potentially, there is this, councils do have powers to actually go into someone's house, but they have to give them notice and they have to have reason to go in. So if, for example, they suspected someone was maybe selling, bags of turf, or, they have a field where they cut down a load of timber and the next week they're selling it, out the back door or out the back garden. Or if there's a persistent problem with a householder who's raining down smoke on their neighbours, especially in a built-up area, they do have the powers to go in, but they have to give them at least 24 hours notice, and you have to have good reason. And look, if you're trying to hide something, you'll hide something in 24 hours. Under the proposed new bill, they would have powers to go in if they can prove that, or if they have really good grounds to show that, look, they suspect there is a major breach of the regulations going on, and if they don't go in sort of unannounced, the evidence will be hidden. Now, look, again, there is an issue with just resources for doing this kind of enforcement work. We know the local authorities struggle to do all sorts of environmental enforcement, be it inspecting septic tanks. They do so few in a year. Other water quality issues, noise pollution, all that kind of thing. They're not particularly tooled up. They're tooled up to some degree under the law. They're not particularly tooled up in terms of human resources for going out and doing this. So it is there's that issue as well. Actually putting people on the case, if you like, of these kind of. There's an issue there as well. But I suppose the first part is the law is in place. If you can put the enforcement tools, at least on paper, in place, and the next stage is getting that enforcement, exercises and operations going, if you like. Because believe it or not, local authorities are now also responsible for the likes of the deposit return scheme, and looking at supermarkets and making sure that they're not selling bottles that don't have the deposit return scheme label on them. So their remit is quite broad and getting broader on the environmental front. I'm not always sure that the resources they get to match that remit, that widening remit, are put in place.
Yeah, and I think because some of the concern about air quality is quite localised, I could find, you can imagine local authorities don't want to be the outlier or the laggard, and maybe where there are issues, they want to have the powers to sort of maybe catch up with other areas that aren't having the same problems they might have. But in real terms, what does this mean? Theoretically, if I have a neighbour, I've got chest complaint, I have a neighbour and it's evident there's smoke coming out of their chimney, dark smoke every single day. Theoretically, could I report that under this legislation to the council, and the council could go in, or whomever might be responsible, go in and determine, whether or not they're burning illegal fuels in inverted commas, and if so, confiscate that fuel?
Well, essentially, yes. And you've always been entitled to make that report under the Air Pollution Act, which goes back to the 1980s, under kind of a nuisance kind of clause, if you like. My neighbour is causing me a nuisance. It's a very mild way of putting it. If you're somebody who maybe has a chronic chest infection and you literally can't go out the door because of what your neighbours are doing, yes, you could do that. Yes, the council can make that decision to go in. I suspect they would do the old way first, which is give the householder notice and say, look, we want to come in and talk to you about this. Here's the powers that we have to do that. I suspect if they didn't get much joy there and the problem persisted, then they might be under pressure both from the complainant household and as I say the wider kind of regulatory kind of responsibility that they have to maybe use this new provision if they get it in the law to actually just go in and say, look, we need to see what you're burning, show us your fuel store at the back, show us what's in your grate, and let's do some work on that. Now look, it's a sensitive one. It's a sensitive one. For any neighbour making a complaint against another neighbour is just fraught, and people really don't want to do that. Which is why they turn to the authorities and say, could you, can you look after this? This is in your hands. I think there may be some pressure from ordinary householders to say, yes, we would love it actually if our local authority was more proactive, because it puts a lot on a person in a household to try and make a complaint against a neighbour. I think there are certain people. There are people who feel, look, the only thing I can afford is the wet bit of timber that my cousin, has in his field because he cuts down fallen trees now and again. Those are sensitive issues as well.
But just in relation to that, what is the situation, Caroline, in terms of selling wood for burning? Is that legal, illegal? I think I have a fair idea what the situation is with turf, but what's the story there?
Yeah. Well, the turf is odd as well, and it's kind of grey and hazy the way it's worded. Now, you are allowed to sell timber, but it has to be. The moisture content has to be very low, so it's supposed to be dried. So it's supposed to be either left out in drying conditions for a long time, or it's you will see ads for kiln dried timber. So somebody who's routinely providing timber and logs, and they have a kiln to dry it. Again, I think instinctively we all know if you got a bag of logs and threw them in, you'd know very quickly when they're wet and they don't burn well, and there's awful smoke and so on. I suppose the scientific side of that, if a council was to try and prove it, they would actually have to do some tests on it. So it's not straightforward as such. There's still a lot to it if you were to actually take an enforcement.
Well, you also then have to be
them.
found to be burning it, because you could argue, look, it's sitting there waiting to dry. The other dry stuff I have, so that's complicated. I can see where it's a problem there. But, by having laws in place, certain people will just abide by them anyway. And just turf, what's the story with turf? I mean, turf, obviously, this is where it gets quite political, because in areas like Donegal, we've a lot of poverty. A lot of people struggle to heat their home. Turf is the way they do it. It can be cheap. It can be affordable. I think the practice of cutting turf is naturally dying out. But still, a lot of it goes on. So currently you can cut and burn your own turf, but you can't advertise or you can't sell it. And do you see any advances in the limitations of its use going forward, Caroline?
As you say, as the cutting sort of dwindles, that will be eventually what sort of, I suppose, causes the ultimate phase out of turf. But it is still in circulation. You're right. You're not supposed to sell it, publicly advertise it, all of that. It can exchange hands with those who have traditional turf cutting rights. So, I mean, obviously that's rife for it's kind of an elastic definition, and I think it's still possible to find small ads here and there. If you look closely, people selling turf, it's not just going to their friends or family or community, and it's not going free. There are sales going on, so there's still a bit of work to be done on that, and there is still anecdotal evidence, and more than anecdotal actually. The Environmental Protection Agency has some enforcement proceedings, against people who are cutting fairly large amounts of turf. So it's not just that sort of family, community, neighbourhood use. It is broader than that. So it is going on, but I think it is going to gradually dwindle. It is.
Yeah, I think really where people might feel this up here mostly is checkpoints and being found with home heating oil or particularly coal or what have you in the boot of the car from the north. But we'll see. Caroline, thanks so much for your time and outlining that for us. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Take care of yourself. Caroline O'Doherty, environment correspondent with the Irish Independent. And we outlined at the beginning of that interview the likelihood of that happening and when it might happen. Bin emptying prices have gone up, says a listener, so people are burning everything and anything in sight in those wood burners. Chemical smells, I've noted on several occasions. By the way, in relation to a caller we had on the show last week where their bin wasn't being collected, that situation has been resolved, so fair play to the resident or residents and the bin company as well, who have worked with their clients, and the bin was lifted, so hopefully that's the way it is going forward. What is through smokeless coal? We know that there are chemicals in through it. I'm not really quite sure what's in smokeless coal. Some of it's produced relatively locally, I think, so it wouldn't be hard to find out. Name badges at Letterkenny University Hospital. All the staff should stand together and wear their old name badges. They can't sack everyone. No name, please. Of course, yeah, I get you. It's all staff at the hospital are doing their job in the manner which they're employed to do. What is the issue? I think it's a great idea. At the moment, I think it's about 70-30 in favour of the name badges. But the majority of those in favour seem to be the public. The majority of those opposed to it are those who work there, who probably are sick of getting messages on social media or what have you.
An Seán Éireann tá gairí go mailinn maidir le cuasaí a chóirsála agus le drámhia. Ach, tá riant pápéir, pláisteach agus bia fósaigh dul isteach in ar moscaí drámhia generalta is féidir leis tarlú. Mar sin, smuoinnig a fanóméid agus tégadí mywaste.ie ar waithe le cabhair agus multaí ar conastacha drámhia a scara a gcuiad tá písabeh níos éascaid. Sin mywaste.ie ar na thuairteóid ag rialtas na hÉireann.
The M&S sale continues with further reductions across clothing, home and beauty. Shop in-store or online at marksandSpencer.ie. T's and C's apply.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by McElhenny's. With over 50 years of serving the community in Donegal, McElhenny's is proud to be part of every moment, big and small. Support local, shop McElhenny's Ballybuffet.
Rightio, so today mostly dry with long sunny spells, temperatures ranging 13 to 15 degrees in moderate winds. Tomorrow looks set to be a largely dry and bright day with a mix of cloud and long sunny spells, just the odd passing shower potentially, though unlikely. Temperatures similar tomorrow as well, and I believe the same weather will pertain to Thursday as well. Councillor Michael McClafferty joins me on the show now. Michael, thanks for your time.
Good morning, Greg. Morning, listeners. Thank you.
We were talking a little earlier on about XL bullies and a victim of a dog attack. Her sister says the current legislation or rules being introduced do not go far enough. What do you think?
I would say, Greg, at the minute, I would have to agree with the sister. They don't go far enough as such. And the that we were way back the clock, Greg, about we'll go back maybe 30 years ago, that you or I are clearly remembering Caroline there. For example, that time in England, you would have put on the television in the morning or the radio either, whichever was your choice at the time. And particularly that time, if you clearly recall, Greg, we went through an unfortunate state, particularly around England, Scotland, so on like that, where a lot of children, school children, and indeed some adults as well, got attacked. And normally it was the likes of these dogs at the time. Actually, it was pit bulls and Rottweilers, more so Rottweilers, was mentioned at the time. And it just seems to be a bit like now, for me, rewinding the clock or putting the clock forward 30 years later, we seem to be experiencing the same type of situation scenario that they had over there 30 years ago, now here in Ireland. And the reason seems to be we're experiencing, we seem to have a lot more of these dogs here in Ireland now that weren't really on our shores as such, maybe 25, 30 years ago, to be fair. And now all these things are happening. Like I was saying as well there early in the morning there as well, Greg Shannon there. These types of dogs, let it be XL bullies, let it be pit bulls, let it be Dobermans, let it be Rottweilers, or even your average border collie as such, they need a lot of exercise, a lot of stimulation, and they're not really designed or built or bred either, in fact, for staying in lakes of towns or maybe villages even, or concrete jungles or such, where they're very, very limited to what they can do. They get bored, obviously, they get crab at them, they get cross. Obviously what has happened here, these dogs have turned sadly on their owners and killed the poor owners. There's been numerous incidents now, Greg.
Well, I mean, obviously
Ireland.
The government agrees with you, and they are saying if you currently own one, you can keep it. It has to be neutered. It has to have a license. It has to be chipped. But you can't sell it, you can't breed it, and you can't actually even rehome them. So the government agrees with you to a certain extent, but some people believe that does not go far enough. So do you believe that these XL bullies now should be rounded up and put down? Because that's the only thing that's left to do.
That's the only thing that's left to do, Greg. To be fair, it's a difficult one, all right, because I know some people say they're lovely pets and whatnot, and they're friendly and everything else, and they probably are friendly to a certain degree. I think it's one to be fair. I think our dog wardens would need to heavily get involved here. I think the licensing, whoever has one, the licenses would need to be looked at. There would need to be some sort of checks done, and then possibly following on from that, then maybe rounding up then, all right, possibly.
Yeah, because as it stands, the government's plans are to effectively this is the last generation of XL bullies in legal public ownership. So the only thing to do is let them live out their natural lives and accept that risk. Or if you are incredibly concerned, and I'm certainly not advocating this, is, as I say, to round them up and put them down. But you wouldn't go that far, or you would go that far. I'm not quite sure what your position is there.
It's a difficult one, Greg, but I think, to be fair as well, I think it comes down as well to the ownership of the dog as well. As well as ownership of the dog, is the dog actually suited to the environment that he's in, as such as she's in?
Yeah, but we don't do that, though. We don't do that for any dogs. I mean, I believe if we're going down that route, Greg, you could do that for absolutely any dog, couldn't you?
Well, you could, Greg, in fairness, but every dog's not a killer as such, to would respect, Every dog's not going to turn on you and kill you as such.
Right.
I mean, your Chihuahua, your Terrier, your Yorkshire Terrier as such, it's not going to turn on you and kill you, These are serious killer dogs, These dogs in other worlds as such, are trained for fighting. They're thrown onto pitch to fighting, which I'm totally against. It's horrible what happens to them for gain and bettings and all this kind of stuff. There are a lot of stuff going on here, and I think just now the situation we have here at the moment, we have possibly an explosion of dogs that are not suited to our environment here in our Irish shores. That's what I really feel here at the minute. And it's no disrespect to anybody who has one of them, but they are very dangerous. There's no question about it.
Right.
You only need to look at the news.
So any dogs then on the dangerous dog list, do you believe that there should be inspections, review of the owners of those dogs? Is that what you're saying as well?
I do believe so, Greg. Yes, a review of the dogs, particularly. Yes, not the owners themselves. A review of the dogs.
What does that mean? I don't understand. Yeah, so
a review of where they are. I'm not getting at the owner, obviously.
Yeah,
but the dog in question.
I think you're riding two horses here. You're trying to say one thing, but you're also not trying to offend anyone, and that's not how it works, really. If you're concerned about dangerous dogs, and you're talking about going in and investigating the space that ex-bullies are in, and to see if it's safe and if they should be removed on an individual basis, they're on the dangerous dogs list. So presumably, then you believe that should be extended to Dobermans, to all the other dogs that you mentioned at the start of the interview.
Yes, but the particularly ones that pose the most risk, yes, Greg.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, for example, you wouldn't have a Doberman or something in the middle of the high town as such, unless you really had a place for it, or Falcara Street or something else, because of the risk it would pose, So, I mean, there is a big common sense factor here as well,
Okay.
These dogs, in my view anyway, are more suited to out in the countryside where there are plenty of a scope, maybe a field or somewhere to run around in, or a safe enclosure where they can't get out, they can't go with people. You have plenty of room to walk them, exercise and this kind of stuff. But whereas they're cooped up, then they're in a jail type situation as such, and over time then they just basically crack up. And that's what seems to be happening here. These dogs are cracking up, Greg, and that is the reality here. Let them be closed in or chained up in the front or back garden. But unfortunately then, for the people involved then over the last while, we have a crack-up situation then, and the dog was crazy. And it's all over and done with then, a serious situation then, before the dog's dealt with.
All right, okay.
Just trying to be proactive.
Yep, I get you. That's your view. I appreciate it. Okay, thank you very much for your time today. That's Councillor Michael McClafferty. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know. 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and texts. Welcome to that number.
Chasing that final ray of sunlight to the end of the garden. Squeezing every drop out of your tea bag. Scraping the last bit of that really nice face cream. In Ireland, we love getting the most out of everything. So why aren't we doing the same with our money? By moving to an AIB savings account today, you'll get more from your money by earning interest. Visit aib.ie/savings to explore your options. AIB, for the life you're after. Terms and conditions apply. Allied Irish Banks PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Lisa Loughrey here from John F. Loughrey Financial Services. As we celebrate 40 years in business, John and I, together with our team, would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to each and every one of our customers. Your support and trust over the years has been the cornerstone to our success, and for that we are truly grateful. As we look to the future, we remain committed to serving your financial needs in the years to come. John F. Loughrey Financial Services, securing your financial future since 1984. John F. Lowery and Associates Limited, trading as John F. Lowery Financial Services, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
See Derek Ryan live in concert this Saturday night at the Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny, with his brand new concert tour. Joined by special guests Declan Ernie and Jim Devine. That's Derek Ryan live in concert at the Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny, this Saturday, 5th of October. Tickets available from Mount Erigal Hotel reception and DerekRyanMusic.com.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, heading towards the last hour, which includes us heading into the garden with Paul. Get your questions into us right now if you have any. But at 11 o'clock, let's get a news update, and it's over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The government says today's budget is about giving people a break. Families are said to be the main winners with a double child benefit payment in November and December and a baby boost special one-off payment for newborns from January. There will be 2 energy credits worth €125 each before Christmas. Social welfare payments are set to rise by €12. Those over 70 are going to be entitled to bring a friend or carer for free on public transport. One thing the government isn't doing, though, is lowering the VAT rate in the hospitality sector. Gardaí are appealing for information about 2 assaults in the county last week, one on the railway road in Buncrana on Saturday night last, the other on the previous Wednesday on High Road in Letterkenny. Full details on our website, highlandradio.com. Detectives from the Police Service of Northern Ireland's Terrorism Investigation Unit are conducting 2 planned searches in Derry this morning. It's in relation to an ongoing investigation into dissident Republican activity. The searches are part of an investigation into a series of hoax bomb calls that targeted railway stations in England in April of this year. A man in his 70s has died following a serious crash in County Roscommon. A car and jeep collided on the N4 at Ardcarn outside Boyle at around 1:20 yesterday afternoon. The man was rushed to Sligo University Hospital with serious injuries, but he has since passed away. A woman in her 40s was also taken to hospital for treatment of non-life-threatening injuries. And Gardaí have renewed their appeal for information in relation to 2 burglaries in the area of Drumconnor, Mount Charles in the early hours of Monday, August 12th. The 2 businesses in question, a garage and a car breakers, are located close to each other. Specialist tools were taken as part of the investigation. Gardaí want to speak to anyone who travelled on the N56 between Donegal Town and Inver between midnight and 2 a.m. In particular, they want to speak to the driver of a Toyota Avensis that was in the area of the Milltown Bar at around 1:20 that morning. And we're back with news headlines again at 12 noon.
Thanks, Donald. We'll be back with more on the 9 till Noon Show after this really short break.
It's that time of year when all your thoughts turn to Aldi offers like tasty specially selected fish cakes. Was $2.99, now $2.49. Perfect with sauté potatoes. They ooze flavour and value. Oh, and feast your ears on that. Board B, a 100% Irish slow-cooked barbecue pork fillet was $4.99, now $4.29. Mwah! Chef's kiss. Go on, make every day delicious with Super 6 offers on quality meat and fish. Go all Aldi.
All right, Tina Piper is spokesperson for the IRSP in Donegal. Good morning to you, Tina. Thanks for your time today.
Good morning, Greg. Thanks for having me. I'd just like to highlight the bus stop that's in Letterkenny near Mr. Chippy's roundabout.
Yeah.
This bus stop is just not fit for anybody, and it's not fit for purpose anymore, and it's becoming quite dangerous, quite frankly. Far too many people at the end of the day are standing there between 5 and 5:45 p.m. all trying to get a bus in cold and wet, damp conditions. It's really not fair to people, and some of these people are elderly and disabled.
What kind of stories are you hearing, Tina?
Oh, many of them will tell you that they don't like to stand there because they're cold. The ignorance of some people at the bus stops can be quite rude. And it's just, they just want to get home, get their day done, and then just, get home. Some people might have to travel nearly an hour to get home. And these young students will have to do all their homework and everything else. It's tiring for them all.
And I think most people would agree that Letterkenny does need a bus depot, a bus station, something that's a little bit more organised and has greater access, more cover.
Yes. Yeah, more covered. But see, it's not even just about the people. When the buses pull in, then sometimes they could be 2 and 3 abreast of each other, and that has to pull into the main road, which then it becomes a problem for the rest of the traffic who are stuck behind all these buses. Especially last Friday this happened. An ambulance was trying to get through on an emergency call. Everybody was going everywhere. It was so dangerous to watch.
Yeah, I just wonder if there's another similarly sized town in Ireland that has this type of facility. I can't imagine there are too many of them.
No, but you see, the population is growing as well. Sometimes there's not even enough rooms to get everybody on the bus, and so they're squashing it. It's like, do you know when you let the cows out at the field in the springtime? This is what it looks like when the bus pulls up. Yeah. You know, they rush for the door. Oh, people have been knocked down, and quite frankly, I have lost my temper a few times at the bus stop. I'm sure many people will remember me, but it's dangerous. It's not fair for them. You know, there was talk of a bus station, but I don't know if anything's been seen.
Well, often these things end up going into broader plans for things, you know, and rather than something immediate being done, and there are obvious locations where you could develop a transport hub that could probably feed into the new planned town bus and all that kind of stuff, but everything gets grouped in and the status quo remains. But listen, Tina, we appreciate your input. We'll see what others say, and we'll see what have there been any plans to advance a bus station in Letterkenny. But for now, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much as well.
Take care. Bye-bye. That's Tina Piper there. I want to mention that Lagan Health and Wellbeing, their host... Oh, that's actually gone. Yeah, no, it's the 3rd. It's here. It's happening. I thought it says... I forgot what month I was in. It's the 3rd of October, so let me start that again. Lagan Health and Wellbeing are hosting an event at the 3rd of October. It's between 10:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. It's in the Columban Hall, Newtown, Cunningham. There's going to be information stands, foot massage, blood pressure checks, DEXA scanning, PHN service, diabetes service, CDM hub, integration care for older people, messy play, toddlers, preschools, refreshments, and much more. So that sounds like a good day out, a good informative day out, backed by the HSC as well. So that's the Lagan Health and Wellbeing event. It's on the 3rd of October, if that suits you, the day after tomorrow. And it's in the Columban Hall, Newtown, Cunningham, and it runs from 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Right, okay. And I want to mention as well that my old, well, it's not my old GA club, but it's certainly the club I used to play for, Niamh Breed. There are a series of fundraisers taking place as they continue to develop their facilities just between Lahey and Ballantrae. And on Friday night, there is quite a unique event. It's actually taking place on the Donegal Bay Water Bus. It's Showtime, which features loads of fun and games and great music, including Who Wants to Be a Thousandaire, so a chance to win big there as well. It is boarding at 5:30 and sailing and show follows at 6 o'clock. I believe there's a bar there as well. You can buy your tickets from Niamh Breed. Just go to niamhbreed.clubsapp.com. You'll see a link for it. That's this Friday evening, boarding at 5:30. It's a fun, music and games. It's Showtime, and that is on the Donegal Bay Water Bus, as I say, which includes the sailing. Boarding at 5:30, and they set sail and have the fun from 6, and all proceeds go towards Derry Girls. So maybe you're heading down to Donegal Town for the weekend and you want something to start off your Friday night, something with a bit of difference, or maybe you're in the area and you want to go and support Niamh Breed. All proceeds go towards Derry Girls. It's part of a larger fundraiser as part of the Niamh Breed Oscars, and they're doing great things, as many clubs are around the county, doing great things to try and progress facilities and what have you, and encourage participation. So that's boarding at 5:30, the Donegal Town Water Bus, an evening of fun, music and games, and your chance to win and support that club as well. The council says the listener will never go around checking what people are burning. We live in a small area where everyone knows everyone. People don't like to make others uncomfortable. I wouldn't rule it out. If you get 2 or 3 neighbours who are compliant or have new houses that don't have chimneys, as many new houses don't, and there's someone next door constantly pumping smoke out of their chimney, I wouldn't rule out people saying, reporting them to the council. Honestly, even in rural areas, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think it's going to happen this year or next, but I think it's certainly coming down the line. Rename tags in Letterkenny Hospital. If anyone has nothing to hide, they won't worry about name tags. But people have their private life to hide. And this is born from some concerns from hospital staff that their full names are on their tags, and then people can search them on Facebook or Instagram. That being said, again, I think there is a responsibility, and teachers know all about this. There is a responsibility maybe to sort of withhold who can contact you or can find you on social media. I know people should be able to live their lives the way they want to be, but there are certain jobs where that's a factor. But I'm told that people are being tracked down on social media because their full names are there and people recognise their faces, presumably, and messages are being sent. Very interested to speak to people in the hospital affected by this directly. I know you can't come on air because of the HSE rules, but certainly you can let us know the story. I didn't hear the whole segment, but seriously, given the council power to enter your home or property is just complete overreach. Even Garda need a warrant to search your home, so it's basically your home can be entered on environmental reasons. Imagine the implications of that. This is a step too far into your freedoms. People need to take a stand, and that's why this current government won't touch it. What about all the countries at war and the explosions that's happening there? Not a word about them. The environmental impacts of it, absolutely crazy what's going on. And the plumes of smoke and all, and we're talking about burning a bit of turf and wood, but anyway, there you go. I'm 66 years old, and as a farmer, I see no major change in the climate. We've had good and bad summers and winters. We've the greenest country in the world. Listen, I would always bow to your authority in that you've been on the planet longer than I. I think if we have another very wet summer next year, and certainly if we have another one thereafter, we're going to have to start talking about adjustment to our climate, whether it's climate change or the climate crisis or what have you. But I think we have we've had if we have 3 or 4 consecutive summers like that, we can't ignore that either. And I know there are trends, but I think that would be certainly worth noting. Hello, Greg. The proper information is, as from today, if anyone owns an XL Bully or Pit Bull dog in Donegal, they must contact Donegal County Council, register their details at a fee of €120. Before doing this, they must have their dog chipped and licensed and neutered. I think it's important that people have the proper information. Thanks, Greg. If the dog warden comes across an unlicensed and unregistered dog as from today, they can seize it. I believe there's a bit of a run-in time, and I think the dog also has to be neutered, but I appreciate your clarification there. I think that's what we've been saying here. Listen, whatever is being introduced or not introduced, I think the question is do these regulations go far enough? But I appreciate you helping me there with the clarity. I pass people walking German Shepherds in town with no muzzle and on an extendable lead. The Garda drive past and do nothing. Surely it's not just up to a dog warden who mightn't work evenings. I'm not sure what the Garda rule is. Is it criminal matter? Civil matter? I'm just really not quite sure. But that dog should be on a lead that is very strong, of a certain length, and also should be muzzled. Hi, Greg. As a school bus driver, I think something needs to be done about these hedges on the back roads where they are out to the middle of the road and the trees are are laying over the road and have to cross over the wrong side of the road to pass them. Very dangerous, as if the job's not hard enough. The council was to ring me back 3 weeks ago. Thanks, from Sean. Sean, I think at the moment, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think there might be a little bit of a standoff at the moment between homeowners and landowners and the council. The cutting of these hedges is the landowner's responsibility in most cases. I'm sure there might be some exceptions, but eventually the council, if there is a risk to life and limb, might go in and cut these hedges. I've been contacted by numerous bus drivers on numerous routes, and the problem seems to be running more into the school year than it has in the past. So my suspicion is there might be a little bit of a standoff between the council and landowners. That being said, and this is not an exaggeration, lives are being put at risk. Let us know of particular roads where the hedges are bad. If you're a bus driver and you're out there, let us know. I wouldn't mind taking a note of where they are and coming back to it in a week or so to see if these dangers are being taken seriously. So if you want to tell us about overgrown hedges in your area or in fact on your route, particularly with kids on board and all the safety measures that have to be applied within the bus, I think it's only fair that the conditions outside the bus, i.e. the roads, are safe. So if you are a bus driver or you are out on the roads and there's a particular issue with overgrown hedges, please let me know. Because I did make some representation to councillors on this issue on behalf of some people and was told, well, this is a landowner's issue. So I think there's a bit of a standoff going on here. Right, okay, we were down at the Donegal Town Rugby Football Club a little earlier on. They're coming in to prepare the ground, put out the cones and what have you for underage sports, and there's dog caca all over the pitch. I don't think it's exclusive to that pitch, and it certainly isn't, because we're going to Moville now, to John Gillen, who's chair of Moville Celtic. John, thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Greg.
Right, so what's the story in your area? I mean, obviously, firstly, we were talking about dog poo. I think we're more talking about, are we rubbish, or maybe it's a combination of the two. What do you want to tell us about, John?
It'll be a combination of the two. We have a groundsman there that does a lot of work, and we have a lot of children that go through the pitches, plays football every day of the week, and for the dog fouling on the pitch, it's ridiculous. Like, there's a sign there that says no dogs allowed, which is up. There is a bin there, even if they would get rid of it themselves, but to leave it lying on the pitch, and then, as I say, kids to be playing, slipping on it, dragging it onto cars, maybe getting it under their eyes. It's
horrendous, isn't it? I know this has been mentioned on your Facebook before, but has it worsened? Is this a problem that's worsening, John, or is it ongoing at the same level?
It's just ongoing at the same level.
Yeah.
Like, as I say, our groundsman puts a lot of work on it, our committee members, everybody, coaches, but they run around. Say if you're a coach, you're going down to set up a session for Waynes to train, and then you have to go over and pick up after somebody else's dog before training starts. It's hard to take at times.
No, and you shouldn't have to do it, picking up another person's dog poo. But as you quite rightly pointed out, there's the mess and there is the risk to children's sight. And this is also a community resource. So they're crapping on the community resource and the volunteers that work within it as well. It's really disrespectful, and maybe that's the message that needs to get across. Stop disrespecting others and a community resource like this fantastic. Like the fantastic resource Moville Celtic is.
Yeah, hey, as I say, look, this resource is down at the water, the Bay Field. It's been there for, I don't know how many years. It's a great place, like, but for that to happen, and just to not have the decency to pick up after your own dog, like, we have a lovely shore walk in Moville that dogs are allowed to go, and obviously to pick up after them. But to go down onto our grounds that we try to keep as well as we can and let it happen, it just needs to stop.
And it probably is a small group of irresponsible dog owners. This is not happening right across the community, I'd imagine, John.
No, it isn't. Like, as I say, over their shore walk and all, there is a few definitely, but it's not hard to pick up after your dog. If you buy a dog and you look after it, it's not hard to pick up after it.
Yeah, I would hate to think that there are people that don't care about, particularly the young ones, trampling through this, getting it potentially into their eyes and the dangers of that. We just hope that eventually that this message gets through and people realise this is not an open green space to exercise your dog and for it to wee and crap wherever it wants to. This is a community facility with signs up saying no dogs allowed. And if your dog happens to stray into the pitch, there is actually even a bin for people to dispose of it. So there's no excuse for it, John.
No, none at all, Greg. Like, as we say, like, it's not hard to pick up after your own dog. Like.
Yeah. All right, John, listen, and simply...
Sorry, Greg.
Yes, go ahead, John.
Could I just, I know it's on a different matter, could I give a wee plug to the club?
Of course you can. Take your time, go ahead, plug away.
We have a dinner dance coming up to celebrate over 120 years.
Right.
It's on Friday, the 1st of November, in the Redcastle Hotel, and tickets are available through the club. If you can contact the messenger or myself or any committee member. And
beautiful setting. The food's going to be beautiful. We know that as well. What's the entertainment like? Have you got that in front of you?
Yeah, we have a Hapman playing, disco after it. We'll also have piles of old photos, old videos going up, hopefully more memorabilia. And as I say, it's celebrating over 120 years of the club.
Brilliant. So current members, sounds like previous members, a great night out for them as well. A bit of nostalgia there by the sounds of things, John.
Yeah, definitely. The only thing, there's no dogs allowed, so hopefully everybody turns out and leaves their dogs at home.
Well, hopefully you don't. Once the disco starts, you don't make a mess on the dance floor dancing. And when I say that, I mean the moves. I don't mean anything coming out of you, right? I mean the moves. John, where can people get tickets?
We can get tickets through the club. If you go on our Facebook page, you'll see the contact details, and also any committee members. Everybody around the town knows
Brilliant.
us all. So
sounds like a
don't
great
be
night
scared
out
get
to
in
start
contact.
off November, John. Listen, well done to you, and best of luck with that. And remind me a little bit closer to the time, and I'll read out another plug for it. All right, John? Cheers, buddy.
That's great, Greg. Thanks very much.
Take care of
Thank
yourself.
you.
Thanks so very much indeed. We're going to be going back to the issue of XL bullies, or dangerous dogs in inverted commas, certain breeds, let's put it like that, after this quick break.
The Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated €145 million. Play responsibly, in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Thank you for attending this meditation session for badgers who forgot to check for gas pipes before digging, without knowing how disruptive it could be, putting others at risk and doing it unknowingly for all their working life. And it could have been avoided had they just checked in the first place. Let's begin.
Always check for gas pipelines before you break ground. Visit gasnetworks.ie/dig for more information.
Are you completing your UCAS application? CAFRE offers degree courses in food, agriculture, equine and horticulture. Come along to CAFRE's October Open Days. Talk to students, meet staff and explore the practical facilities at Northern Ireland's specialist agri-food and land-based college. Book now to attend an open day at Greenmount Campus, Enniskillen Campus and Loughry Campus. Register online at cafre.ac.uk or visit Discover CAFRE on Facebook.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is
21 minutes past 11. Let's go to Councillor Dakota Nick Venman, who's talking about, well, I suppose following on maybe from comments from Councillor Michael McClafferty. Dakota, thanks for your time this morning.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
Right, okay. So do you take issue with something Michael said?
Well, I don't agree with the point that you have to live in a certain area to have a certain dog. I think that's a bit ridiculous. Of course, some dogs have more energy needs than other dogs, but to say that you have to be living in the countryside's a bit of a stretch. Any dog can live in a town. There's absolutely no problem with that, I don't think.
Yeah, and I suppose living in a town versus the countryside, it depends on the owner as to how much exercise that dog gets in either setting.
Yeah, and sure, even like if you're living in the countryside, then you have other animals too, like sheep and whatnot, that you have to be aware of too. Like there's other things at play as well. It's not just whether you're in a town or a countryside with your dog.
I mean, obviously, a lot of these dogs are bred for human pleasure. They're not natural. Pugs would be amongst them. I mean, we've overbred them to the point that they actually can't breathe, but they're seen as attractive dogs to keep. They're not dangerous, of course. But you believe that the breeding and perhaps lack of regulation in breeding is a big part of the problem here.
Yeah, that definitely is a problem. The XL Bully isn't a real breed, really and truly. It's not recognised as a real breed. It is a hybrid of a mix of crossbreeding that has gone on for years, and it's newly formed this new breed, but it is just a hybrid. There's no proper defining characteristics of an XL Bully. You go on the government's website, they'll tell you, it has to be 19 inches height, whatever, but a lot of other dogs that look like XL Bullies, like Staffies or Pit Bulls, they're the same height as that, and they have what is the same build. Even you go on the Gov's website and you look at the 3 photos that they have up as examples of XL Bullies, they're not XL Bullies, not one of them. Maybe the last one you might argue is, but the other two 100% aren't XL Bullies. And it's just complete lack of regulation, and there's just no humane or evidence-based approach going on here at all.
So what do you think we should be doing?
Well, the ban is completely unfair. Like, we need to take a humane and evidence-based resolution. We need to look at the backyard breeding that is going on in this hybrid breeding. Having a ban on one dog, it just doesn't work. We've seen that in the UK. It's not working. Loads of dogs are getting dumped everywhere. And one ban leads to another dog to be banned. What's stopping that then? To ban in the whole list of restricted breeds. And just there needs to be proper education too on these breeds, proper training, telling people that like these dogs do need a muzzle, they do need a shorter lead, they're not to be on extendable leads.
Yeah, but none of those rules are generally adhered to. You know, I think if you go out and about, Dakota, you will always see these dogs on these extendable leads. They very, very rarely have a muzzle on them. So even the current rules aren't being, and you know yourself from your work within the council, I think we're eventually going to have 2 dog wardens, Monday to Friday, potentially, 9 to 5. That's their hours. I'm not critical of them. But, we're not really serious about enforcing the rules that we have currently, some might feel.
No, we're definitely not. Like, I can tell you an example from my own, my dog's a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, so that's probably why I feel so passionate about this. But I was out walking her when she was only a young pup now at that stage, and we met a German Shepherd, which is another restricted breed, was on an extendable lead, came round and bit my dog in the face. Now, it was no big deal to me, like, it happened, but it just, like, people aren't adhering to it. Like, I had my dog on a shorter lead, but, like, they aren't adhering to these rules at all, and we don't have any enforcement, and that's what we need. And it's to ban the backyard breeding as well. It's the breeders that are at fault for this.
It's interesting, those. I just managed, while you were speaking there, to dig out these pictures that are from gov.ie that are representatives of XL bullies. It says these pictures are indicative of what an XL bully type looks like. A dog does not have to look exactly like this to conform to the standard above, which is about its bite, its coat, its forequarters, its hindquarters. I didn't realise actually this is so convoluted and incredibly hard to enforce. Who's going to make a call on what an ex-bully is?
Exactly. Like, I can tell you now, my Staffy, she looks quite similar to one of them dogs.
Yeah, I would say she probably looks like number 2, does she?
Yeah, and to think that somebody could just, like a dog warden could come along and tell me, oh no, that's an XL bully because she meets the height requirements, her face and her jaw looks a wee bit bigger. Like, it's heartbreaking. Like, it really is for owners. It's scary.
Mm. Yeah, and do you ever? I mean, there's an awful lot of talk of dogs. We don't want dogs on beaches. We don't want dogs in parks. We don't want dogs here, there, and everywhere. Is it becoming awkward being a dog owner now? In that it's almost really, like you're a cast out, or whatever that phrase is, outcast.
Yeah, it definitely is. It is definitely hard now. It was hard now at the beaches, that whenever them restrictions came in, certain hours and whatnot, and certain beaches, definitely is harder to be a dog owner now. There is a lot of dog owners that aren't taking responsibility, they aren't lifting up after dogs, so it's understandable, but it's not every owner, and we can't all be blamed for that. Like, I've even proposed, like with the Drumbo, this new park that's they're building up in Drumbo, like I proposed putting a dog park in there so it was somewhere safe that dogs could go. Now, there's been no decision made on that, but that's something I've put forward.
Well, we were chatting to a listener lot last week, actually, Dakota, who said they're not going back to the Drumbo walk that's there at the moment because the amount of dog poo on it, people aren't picking up after themselves. Again, I don't know what the percentage is, but I'd say it's 5%, maybe less, of dog owners that allow their dogs to crap anywhere. But it then sort of casts a shadow on you, who I'm sure you're a responsible dog owner. All of a sudden people think, well, is it Dakota's dog that's doing all this messing?
Yeah, exactly. And even, like, you'd be scared, like, at times you could be walking through the woods and you might see another dog's waste, and then you see someone walking towards you and you think, oh God, they're going to think that was my dog when it wasn't your dog. Like, and like, yeah, it's hard for dog owners out there at the minute.
Yeah, no, I do be conscious of that, especially as we platform some of the complaints people have, but I do try and point out at every opportunity that we're talking about a minority here, that, when the 2 pitches we've talked about, it literally could be the one dog that's doing all the messing on consecutive days leading up to the match on a Saturday or the training on a Saturday, and that's the reality of it. And there could be 1,000 dog owners in the area acting responsibly. So I do try and make that point. Okay, Dakota, thank you very much for your time. That's Councillor Dakota Nick Venman there. Kieran's been holding. Thanks for your patience, Kieran. What's your view?
My view is, well, I'm in my 70s now. I've had dogs all my life. I prefer large dogs. I've never had a vicious dog, and any vicious dogs that I know, it was the fault of the person that owns them. When you take a dog on now, you have to know what it requires to look after it. There's no point like a border collie, an Alsatian, a Doberman, a Rottweiler. You can't have them locked up for 12 and 16 hours a day in a backyard or a backyard. You are going to have problems with them. It's as simple as that. So I think really what we should be doing is what you do with these rehoming people. They come and inspect your premises and see if you're suitable to have a dog.
Yeah.
But I say I have never ever seen a vicious dog that was not down to the person that owned it.
Yeah.
Dogs are not vicious animals. If they're looked like I have a collie at the moment, Bonnie. Bonnie's out 8 o'clock in the morning for a pee. She's out 10 o'clock at night. But yeah, apart from that, she's walked 3 times a day.
So,
just, and she loves it.
Do you think then we don't want to take on policing dog ownership, so we'll just ban the dogs? Do you think that that's a lazy way of doing it?
Oh, that's a very lazy way of doing it, quite honestly. The answer is I would put some of the owners down before I put the dogs down.
Yeah.
Some owners are very cruel, But like I say, I'm a person. I prefer animals to people, to be quite honest.
Okay. Many people do, Kieran, because it's truly unconditional love you get back from a dog, isn't it? And what have you?
What I was going to say there as well, and I do it all the time. I don't care who doesn't like it. If your dog poos on the street and you walk on, I'll stop you and tell you to go back and pick it up.
Have you done that?
If you say no, I do it regularly.
And
if you say
what
no,
happens? Yeah, go on. If you say no,
most of them will go back, or they'll say, I don't have any bags. Well, I carry bags with me all the time. I hand them a bag. But if they refuse to do it and they're driving, I take a registration and I report it to the local council. And I don't care who doesn't like it. I don't see why I should get a lot of hassle for looking after my dogs whenever you've got people who just don't care about their dog.
Right.
And also it brings me to another point about beaches. I would be the opposite. Personally speaking, I think certain beaches, dogs should not be allowed on them at all. And
Right.
certain beaches as, for dogs. My big problem with dogs and beaches and the poo not being picked up as young children. People flick the sand over the top of the poo so it can't be seen.
All
You
right.
get young children playing in the sand. You can actually dig that up and put it in their face.
Yeah, true.
And that's basically me.
Okay. Listen, Kieran, thanks for that. Appreciate it.
No, not a problem.
Nice to
Bye.
talk to you, and love to Bonnie.
Right, bye.
Okay, bye. Last mention of our quiz. It's in association with Green Shoes. They've got shops in Galway, Limerick, up here in the northwest, Falcarra and Letterkenny. But anywhere where you are, greenshoes.com. We've a pair of Rikers to give away today. And last shout on this, we'll keep the lines open for another 5 minutes. We're going to give you the opening line of a song, and I want the name in the song. So the opening line of the song today is I Come Home in the Morning Light. And the answer to that is... Text that, your name and address to 086 60 25,000 or WhatsApp. It's up to you, whichever you prefer. And we'll draw a winner out before the end of the show. And someone's going to be stepping out in style in a pair of Rikers. And they're going to join Gloria, who yesterday won a beautiful pair of Dr. Martens. And tomorrow, a pair of New Balance as well. Whoever did all this likes rock and hen party music. If you look through the list of songs for the rest of the week. Okay, get in quick and enter that. Right. We're joined on the programme now by the one and the only Daniel O'Donnell. Good morning, Daniel.
Hello, Greg. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Sad news this week, wasn't it, with a legend in Chris Christopherson passing away.
Absolutely.
But what a legacy to leave behind him. But still, it's always sad to learn this news. I suppose, especially, Daniel, like someone like yourself in the music industry.
Well, certainly he's left a great, legacy, as you said, behind him and his music. And I was thinking, after I heard it, there's very few people who have any knowledge of music, or even maybe not even interested in music, that won't have known or heard a Chris Christopherson song.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's not like, you don't need to be following his music, or even a fan of music, to have heard Chris Christopherson songs. And there are just a number of people, who that would apply to, as far as music is concerned.
Yeah, crossover music, isn't it, Daniel? Whereby it just crosses genres. Yeah, brilliant. And also, too, actually a really good actor, and won a Golden Globe, I think, for the...
he was multi-talented, really. All of the things that he did, it wasn't just the music. He did so much.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for a few words on his passing, Daniel. Opry Le Daniel is coming to TG Cahir, and it starts, excitingly, tonight.
It is, yes, it's starting tonight. We had a lovely time, during the show. We always enjoy the show. There's a great team behind Opry putting it together, and, I've been involved in it for a good number of years. And every year, there's different... different artists, of course, some repeat artists, but this year we had a lot, that had never been on before. I mean, Dana's on it, and it's incredible, I suppose, that, Dana has been there forever, and yet she's never been an Opry. Frances Black was on, she's never been on, of the well-known people, and we had an R, who are just fantastic. I'm sure you're very aware of them, as people at home would be, but their star is rising, amazingly,
And it's an amazing platform for them, and you've got this amazing mix of, established artists, legends of the music. And I'm particularly pleased to see Dana getting the platform that she deserves, because, and we're not going to get into it now, sometimes she's overlooked for one reason or another. So I'm delighted to see her platform, because she's incredibly popular and, of course, incredibly talented. Right, Dan?
Well,
go ahead. Sorry, Daniel.
No, just funny as you say that. On the night, it's just amazing when you see somebody who has been in the music business for a long time at the level that Dana, has been involved. She just owned the stage for the period she was on. She owned the audience. It was quite something to be there to see her, and it was lovely. I mean, I've known Dana for a long, long time, through different things, and yes, it was just lovely to have her on. And it's lovely to have the younger people on too, Chrissy Mack was on, and Gavin Cribben, and different people, that are just getting themselves established. And that's a lovely part of Opry as well, to be able to give a platform to younger singers.
Yeah, and it crosses genres. I mean, obviously, it's rooted perhaps in country, but it's not just country, as you've mentioned. Country is very influential and can be found in all different types of music. But even tonight, you've got a couple of great acts, very, very popular up this part of the world. Jimmy Buckley and Mike Denver, I think they're on stage tonight. And also Barbara Fairchild's flown in as well.
Barbara came in from America. I mean, I would have known Barbara in America, and I was delighted when Sally said that, she was able to come and be part of the show. And it's I suppose the fact of it is that it spans all of the different generations of music, and you have the established artists. We had Declan Ernie, and Declan has been involved longer than I have been involved in music. So you have all different decades of music represented.
And I think sorry, go ahead, Daniel.
We have a gospel night, and they look at, then they have that Celtic night where Honor was part of that, and that's, Frances Black. It's just lovely to have all that,
And I think what's really important and what lends it well as a viewing spectacle, it's filmed in front of a live audience who were there specifically for the music, and I think that always adds to live performances and a music show when you've got an invested audience.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the audience, no matter what show you're at, whether it be TV or just a concert, the audience make the show. And this year was no exception. And like, you know, when you look at Jimmy and Mike too, they have done so much in the Irish music, you know, scene. And it's lovely that tonight is starting with them. And I mean, I've known both of them for a good many years. I remember, like, Jimmy, you know, this is just a story. I was getting my hair cut, a friend of mine, and I was down to Tipperary, and I was in Capelwhite getting my hair cut, and Jimmy Buckley came in to the hairdressers, the barbers, and I mean, I didn't know him at the time, and he sang. I says, Jimmy, I says, you need to be on the road, you know, and then he, of course, he did. Mike Denver, I can remember Mike coming in to Ballinya to the concert before he, you know, got on the road. And it's great to see how the people, you know, have taken to the music, you know, and to the different singers. And it's lovely to be able to go back to the beginning with somebody. I mean, of course, you know, the established people, you know, the older singers, I would have admired them as I was growing up. And I get the chance, you know, on different series to have a lot of them on, like Philomena and Margaret and Susan McCann.
Roly
and all
Daniels
these
as
people
well, amazing performance.
And Roly was on one of the nights we were on the forum, and it was just fantastic, you know, to be a part of it. And I you know, the Big Mountain people that record, and Sally Diver and all that's involved, they do a terrific job. Jonathan Owens is in charge of the music, and it's just very well done. You know, there's no expense spared. You know, making the show the best it can be, and it's a great tribute to the Irish country music scene. I know it extends beyond that when we're doing the shows, because we look at different types of music as well. But primarily, it's a country music show. And, you know, it's a great tribute, and it's great, you know, from the TG Carr point of view, that they have invested, you know, such interest in our music and in our performers here in Ireland.
Yeah, and it's actually a celebration of all of that. It's a celebration of it's a celebration of our culture. It's a celebration of our music, and the people behind that who have entertained. Now we'd counting some of them twice, but have entertained millions up and down the country, millions upon millions of people over the years. Really looking forward to it. Kicks off tonight on TG Cahir at 9:30 p.m. So get your popcorn out. And tonight, a fantastic show. Obviously, our very own Daniel O'Donnell hosting the show. And tonight is going to feature Jimmy Buckley and Mike Denver, and also Barbara Fairchild, and then other acts and more shows coming. And fair play. And I want to join with you actually in supporting the work that TG Cahir do, because when they do stuff, they don't do it by half. They throw the kitchen sink at it, and they do it on much limited resources than others might have access to, and they do amazing things in supporting, in supporting shows that might not otherwise get an airing. So big round of applause to them as well.
No, it is. You're right, and you know, you'll see through the series. I mean, there's 7 or 8 shows that will be on, and I suppose the final show is a tribute to Dolly Parton. I'll take. That's going on around Christmas, you know, and Cleona Hagan and Barbara was involved in that, and it's just as you say, a great celebration of music, and I know that a lot of people enjoy it. You know, they enjoy there's a great enjoyment got from our own singers here, you know, and I always say that, you know, we look. Of course, we admire from afar, but we have as good here in Ireland in every area of music as you will get anywhere in the world. So, you know, start at your own door and walk. The journey is always easier when you start at your own door and you look ahead of you.
Yeah. And I love light entertainment, and we seem to have moved a little bit away from that. Just people up on stage entertaining. There always has to be an angle, and it's nice actually just to get a light entertainment show that you can sit down and enjoy. And that's what we've got to look forward to tonight on TG Cahir at 9:30. Daniel O'Donnell, as always.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so very much.
God bless.
All right,
Bye-bye.
God bless. Take care of yourself.
Join me, Marty Friel, every Friday night from 8 for Rockin' Hits on Highland Radio, in association with Arena 7, where you can enjoy dinner and drinks in the Woodbury Grill Bar and Restaurant before bowling in Arena 7's state-of-the-art lanes. See arena7.ie.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
There's Monster Bingo tonight and every Tuesday night at Mulroy Woods Hotel, Milford. €3,250 must go. Doors open at 7:30. Bingo starts at 8:30. That's Monster Bingo tonight at Mulroy Woods Hotel, Milford.
Mary here from the cosmetic department at McGee's Chemist to let you know that Lancome have a great beauty gift available here this week. Buy 2 Lancome products, want to be skincare, and you will get a free 7-piece gift containing a 50ml cleansing milk, a choice of Absolute or Hydrocyn travel size creams, and more iconic Lancome products. This is available until Saturday the 19th of October or while stocks last. For any skincare advice, you can always talk to Gemma or myself here at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Hello, I'm Johnny Cash.
Walk the line with the award-winning Johnny Cash and June Carter tribute show, Cash Returns, live at the Millennium Forum Derry on Friday, 4th of October. Limited tickets on sale now from the box office. That's Cash Returns at the Millennium Forum Derry on Friday, 4th of October.
Hi, mate. Is your brother still in hospital?
He is, yeah. He's 3rd-degree burns everywhere, so he's facing years of surgery.
Does he know he missed the funeral?
No, he hasn't woken up yet.
Ah, no.
Yeah. Whatever about the surgery, he'll never recover from that.
Always check your smoke alarm and do everything you can to stop fire starting, because once it does, it will stop at nothing. Find out more at fireireland.ie. A message from the Government of Ireland.
Are you thinking of transferring the family farm? If so, Teagasc are holding a Transferring the Family Farm clinic on Tuesday 8th of October in the Inishowen Gateway Hotel, Buncrana from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. This is an opportunity to meet with local accountants, solicitors, mediators and other relevant parties to help you make a plan for the future. This is a free event and all are welcome. To register, contact Letterkenny Teagasc office on 07491 21555.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Support local at McElhenny's. With 53 years experience in fashion, beauty and home, we're here for you. Plus, enjoy M-Card rewards when you shop in-store at McElhenny's Ballybuffet.
Okay, let's have a look at that weather forecast, and it's going to be pretty much similar today, tomorrow and Thursday. Mostly dry with long sunny spells, temperatures 13 to 15 degrees. Dry overnight as well. Chilly enough with the clear skies, 3 to 7 degrees. Tomorrow the same pretty much as today, 13 to 15 degrees. Paul McLaughlin, gardener at Ballochder Garden Centre in Letterkenny. Hi Paul, how are you
Hi
getting
Greg,
on?
how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. So we are back in the garden. It's the last one of the season.
Summer
what's
doesn't
the
belong
story?
around.
No, it doesn't belong going in. I don't have you on camera here. I've got Charlene Anderson from the Garda slot in here. I'm going to try and fix that. So what should we be doing right about now?
Right about now, I suppose we're getting into the autumn time now. You can see the leaves already starting to change and stuff. So now is pretty much a good time to sort of take stock and tidy up a bit. And now, as leaves are falling as well, sort of if you manage them as they fall, clean them up, say, every weekend or so. That's a good idea if you're looking after your lawn, particularly because if they lie in the lawn over the winter, they tend to grow moss.
Yeah, and if you try and blow them or scrape them thereafter, those underneath, they've kind of started to embed themselves.
Once they get wet, they pretty much stick together, all right.
All right, so Little and Lofton. Little and Lofton's the right way to do it.
Pretty much, and especially if you get a day today. Like today, it's nice to get out and about because it's actually quite pleasant out there at the minute.
And as I mentioned, you know, the payoff, I suppose, for drier days is colder nights. So we're going to see cold nights this week. And I suppose now any weather can happen from here on in, really, as we head further deeper into October.
Pretty much now you hear about all these storms in America and that, and you're nearly always guaranteed we'll get the TON.
It's a pretty nasty one, potentially, 7 to 10 days out.
Yeah.
Now, it's very early on at this point, but I'll be keeping a close eye on that if I had a trampoline.
Yes, pretty much. But now, from now on, really, you can sort of expect anything.
Yeah, okay. So what can we be doing in the garden? Obviously, tidying up, taking stock. We've mentioned spring bulbs on a couple of occasions, and a final reminder as we end this season, you can have your colour coming up in spring. Plant them now. You might even forget you planted them and just see the fruits of your labour in spring.
Pretty much. It's funny, I've noticed this week, even the garden centre, they're actually much people are getting more into bulbs now. It was probably a wee bit early and the weather was too good almost for people to be thinking about it. So pretty much you have between now and then November to get them in. So you have plenty of time to still get at it.
Yeah, and you're a big fan of them. A lot of
Yes.
benefit, very little negative.
Absolutely. I pretty much nearly guaranteed to grow. So they are if you stick them in. And it's just that wee bit of early cheer whenever the springtime comes around, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And there's such a wide variety available now compared to what used to be.
Yeah, because we mentioned last time, daffodils obviously default, but you can get all different types of colour now and get creative with it as well.
Absolutely, aye. And funny, even if you have like the backbone of it being daffodils, we splash a colour in through it.
Yeah,
Actually
for
has a real
sure.
nice element to it.
Tidy up our beds. We can start tidying up anything that needs trimming or looks like it could do with trimming.
Yeah, pretty much anything's finished flowering now you can trim it back. As this generally rule of thumb, whenever you're trimming back shrubs, that whenever they finish flowering, give them a trim back.
And I suppose too, although we had a windy summer, we're more likely to see more consistent winds. So if you can lighten the load of whatever you might be trimming as well, it's going to be advantageous in that regard.
Absolutely, yeah, because if you have big heavy branches, they'll be more inclined to break.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be the time. When do you actually do your final pruning of the year? So we say you're talking about tidying up anything that's a bit scraggly at the moment, but your final pruning, when does that normally take place?
Sort of depends on the plant, if you know what I mean, but a lot of trees and stuff, you're better doing it in the winter because the leaves are off it and then you can actually see the framework of the plant almost. You can see it better, so you can sort of get the shape better when the leaves are off it, and you've obviously a lot less material to be carting away too.
And in terms of your bedding, right? So the summer flowers pretty much have done their thing now. Do many people switch them out for winter ones?
Quite a few would. I would say probably like almost people put in almost 50% of what they would have had during the summer, if you know what I mean. Like the winter ones, people like them just to give a wee bit of sort of cheer through the winter, if you know what I mean. But you don't get the same sort of return from them as the summer stuff, so people wouldn't be as much out. But no, it's nice to have a couple even around the door, you know.
And you mentioned the leaves earlier on. Is there anything we can be using those leaves for that's useful for the garden?
Yes, you can make a product called leaf mold, which is basically a very rudimentary compost. What people do is you can see people getting almost like a ring of sheep wire, and put in somewhere inconspicuous place in the garden and fill it with leaves and over the course of the winter into next spring they will actually compost down and become usable compost again, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So basically it's something for nothing.
Is it high value, high yield compost?
Oh, it is, absolutely. It's very good
Right.
stuff.
Okay.
So it is a black gold, they call it.
Right, there you go. So don't waste that. Wildflower patches. You've a note here saying that now is the time to start thinking about that. What are we talking about there?
Yeah, it's pretty much the wildflowers very much over the last 4 or 5 years become real sort of fashionable, if you know what I mean, because you're sort of helping pollinators and everything, and it's actually looking really well at the minute. So in terms of wildflower patches, you can either sow them springtime or autumn time. But to get an earlier summer display, basically, you can actually, if you put them in now in the autumn time, you'll generally get a better success rate than you will in the springtime.
What about your veg patch? Is that done for the winter?
No, not particularly. Once again, the sort of season's coming around again. We're still harvesting away potatoes, tomatoes, stuff like that, you know, and even the carrots and that are ready now. But you can be sort of starting again and putting in your onions and garlic and stuff.
Okay.
From now on.
We'll get to some questions. There's another thing I want to speak to you about. We'll get to some questions though, because I'm committed to listeners to get through as many as possible. How can I keep my houseplants alive while the heating will dry out the rooms in the house, while also making sure they get enough sunlight?
Yes, I suppose the only thing for that, through the winter time, people's sort of houseplant routine slightly changes. You're supposed to reduce the water and be, say, 30 to 40% because the same level of heat isn't there. But a lot of houseplants are sort of more, they come from tropical areas. So it's that idea of they like a good bit of humidity. So generally get into the habit of watering them maybe twice a week, maybe once a week at this stage.
Mhm.
And if you think they are drying a wee bit, if you get like the hairdresser's bottle, give them a wee spray every so often.
I remember back in the day we used to have, the old 3-bar gas heater that used to be in the house, and it would dry the air out and it'd feel very uncomfortable. And what we used to do was put a bowl of water somewhere.
Yeah.
And that would evaporate and add moisture. I'm not sure if it actually did anything, but that's
I
what
think
it
it
was
does, because
I wonder, would that be useful for plants in a sunroom or something, maybe?
Quite possibly, because a lot of the time what we would do with that would be, see, Christmas trees. Put them in people's houses. If you put a bowl of water behind, it's the
so
same
there
sort
is
of effect.
logic to it.
As the water evaporates, it sort of increases the humidity. So
Right.
no, there definitely is logic to it.
I was cutting back my apple trees this week when I realised that one seems to be rotten on the inside. Will cutting it back help, or should I root it all out now and plant a new one?
I suppose that would kind of depend on the amount of rot that's in the tree. If you look at the shape of the tree, and if it's the main trunk, you would worry about it now. But if it's just a part of the growth, I would remove that part and maybe leave it to the spring.
All right.
To see just to give the tree the best chance of survival. But once again, maybe take photos and bring to your local garden centre. They'll be able to help.
Listener has their roses cut back. They're wondering, is it a good time now to put some feed on the roots, or do I just leave them alone until next year?
There's still a wee bit of growth, so putting a wee bit on wouldn't hurt. If you put a bit of organic stuff on at the minute, wouldn't hurt, because it sort of only releases at a certain time. But you possibly would be wasting it. But generally, the time to feed roses would be sort of St. Patrick's Day, around 1st April, where they're starting to grow.
I have a few I beg your pardon, sorry, Paul. I have a few ash trees 40 to 50 years old dying back. You also have an ash over 100 years old not affected. Should I cut them younger ones to save the old one?
It's quite possible. If you do see the ash die back on them, chances are their days are numbered anyway.
Yeah.
So cutting them back possibly now would be as good a time as any. They reckon with this disease going about that about 5% of the ash population will survive. So if that tree's not showing any sign of it, it may well be a good idea to actually cut it back and cut back the ones around it, and hopefully give it the best chance of survival.
How can I cut back my hydrangea now, even though it's still in bloom, as it blooms in late summer? Also, how far back can I cut it? Thank you. Nolene.
In terms of cutting it back, you can cut it back quite hard. Hydrangeas, you can actually cut them back almost to the ground, and they will come back, no bother. So they will. In terms of, there's two schools of thought in terms of cutting it back. Some people, for tidiness sake, want to cut the old blooms off it. Other people reckon it keeps the frost out of the crown of the plant, so they leave it on to the springtime. So it's kind of a matter of choice. I would tend generally to go with cutting them off in autumn time, just for tidiness sake.
How would I take a cutting from a wild rose bush and reroot it? How will I cut it and plant it?
Yes, wild rose, generally what I cut, should be fairly easy to bring on from a cutting, if you know what I mean. There are 2 times a year you can do it. The autumn time, winter time, you can do it from what's known as a hardwood cutting. So you'd take about this time of year, take about a foot of the stem, ideally one that doesn't have a bloom on it, and generally what I cut, stick it into compost then. Take a good few. Whenever you're taking cuttings, the idea would be to take loads and stick them in. I was going to say,
an apple.
I see you're enjoying your apple.
What is it? It's delicious.
Oh, very nice, them actually.
Are they local?
Yes, absolutely. So they're not quite homegrown, but they're local now. But not lovely apples, them actually.
Very sweet.
Yes.
Very soft.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very nice. They're nearly ripening apples, so they're quite good in terms of like where some of them wouldn't be ready to almost Halloween. That particular variety actually ripens quite early, so it's very beneficial. It doesn't sort of follow the tree as much.
No, right, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, but in terms of the cutting, generally take pieces a bit of foot off the plant of this year's growth, stick them into compost, and hopefully they'll root away. And if you don't miss out in the autumn time, springtime, just take a wee bit of about 6 inches of the new growth.
That would make you want to plant an apple tree.
Yes, absolutely. No, it really is hard to beat the local stuff.
What type of apple is that?
I am not 100% sure. So I'm not. It's just a tree you got growing there.
You just know it's not an orange.
Yeah, pretty much. But no, it's actually particularly nice. Them ones.
Few people interested in growing rhubarb. When is the best time to grow it, and what kind of soil do you need?
Funny, rhubarb is actually grow it pretty much any soil around here. We'll do the trick for rhubarb. Planted in autumn time's best, so you get a decent crop sort of in the summer coming, if you know what I mean. So generally plant it in any sort of soil, but give it a good feed, good bit of manure, because rhubarb's quite heavy plants. So either autumn or springtime, but I would nearly tend to plant it in the autumn.
You've rhubarb, don't you?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, the winner of today's competition is Donna Kelly from Carndonagh, and she correctly answered girls just want to have fun, and she's won a pair of Rikers. Well done to you, Donna. And we also had a winner yesterday who picked up a pair of Doc Martens, and we have another pair. It's New Balance tomorrow, which is all very exciting. In terms of we'd only have a couple of minutes. I actually wouldn't mind coming on and talking about careers in horticultural or gardening with you separately.
Yeah.
We don't really have much time, but in a minute, there is a shortage of people with your expertise.
There's a horrendous shortage of gardeners of all sorts of qualifications, right up from pretty much. But right, they're reckon across the board, they're 14% of a shortage. But even in terms of scientists growing on stuff, or scientists sort of evaluating plants to grow on stuff, right down to people actually gardening, if you know what I mean. But huge amount of courses out there, even in Highland at the minute. I hear Caffrey advertising, which is
degree courses too.
Degree courses on it, and supposed to be a very good course. Actually, I've been up in Greenmount a few times. I've never studied there, but definitely if you're looking for a career, thinking outside's the place for you. It very much is a good career, and there's a huge amount of job opportunities there.
Brilliant, yeah, because when there is a shortage, that means there are opportunities, and it's also experience you can travel with if you wish as well.
Absolutely, and in the next 5 years, I reckon a horrendous amount of like head gardeners and fancy places are retiring. They're all getting to retirement age. So.
Excellent stuff. All right, listen, we might talk about that in a bit more detail into the future. Paul, for now, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
I'm sure we're going to be speaking to you before spring. But for now, thank you so much, and thanks for
Thank you
answering
for
so
having
many
me.
questions throughout the course of the year. And thank you for listening.